She walks in loud like a thunderstorm, debunking myths with style and form. True crime, conspiracies, her game. Melissa Jade, remember her name. She's loud, feisty, spilling tea, diving deep into mystery, breaking down your wildest claims. Melissa Jade, she's got no shame. Microphone fierce like a roaring lion, unveiling secrets people been hiding. True crime queen of the digital scene, Melissa's got you hooked on her screen. She's loud, feisty, spilling tea, diving deep into mystery, breaking down your wildest claims. Melissa Jade, she's got no shame. Murders to cover-ups, nothing misses. Melissa's here to share her guesses. She's got theories big and bold, no stone unturned, no case cold. She's loud, feisty, spilling tea, diving deep into mystery, breaking down your wildest claims. Melissa Jade, she's got no shame. Melissa Jade, she's got no shame. Melissa Jade, she's got no shame. From murders to cover-ups, nothing misses. Melissa's here to share her guesses. She's got theories big and bold, no stone unturned, no case cold. She's loud, feisty, spilling tea, diving deep into mystery, breaking down your wildest claims. Melissa Jade, she's got no shame. 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 She's loud, feisty, spilling tea, diving deep into mystery, breaking down your wildest claims. Melissa Jade, she's got no shame.
Hello.
Hello there.
Hello, Shay.
Hello, MJ. Hey, everybody.
Hello, chat. Hello, members of Melissa Jade and anybody watching from behind. Well, it wouldn't be behind the paywall because we're not behind the paywall, but behind the ability to chat. Welcome, welcome. Hi. Hi, Harlot. Hi, Neat Noodle. Hi, Harley. FOS. We have Kimmy C. Neat Noodle, Sprinkled Dog Nut, Sunshine Mafia. We have ATS News. Callie, hi everybody. I know, FOS. I'm sorry. I want to go as early because I don't like that like little bit of downtime between work ending and because I get super tired. But then at the same time, I can't always gauge perfectly when I'm going to be done. You know what I mean? Oh no. I've seen some funny ass videos of when you get Novocaine, and sometimes some people get a nerve that gets numbed, and so half of their face has paralysis. And I've seen some of the funniest videos, like to my belly laughing, because half of their face is like crying laughing from looking so silly, but the other half does not move, you know, like their eye won't blink, their mouth. It's the funniest thing ever. Oh my goodness.
I got a funny story about that with my mom, and I didn't know what it was, but I was like, "Do you have Bell's palsy?" Like, I didn't
Oh
know what
my
was
God.
wrong. But she had gotten, I think she had gotten some Botox injections like I don't know, 20 years ago or more, and
Yeah,
they just didn't sit right. So
dude, it's scary.
it was bad, and I felt bad, but it was just so funny. I couldn't stop laughing.
Listen, you have to laugh. That's how you know you have a true friend or a true loved one, is if they are laughing at you first.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, Neat Noodle, for 18 months. Yes, happy birthday, Petunia. I hope it's a wonderful one. And thank you, Neat Noodle, for 18 months. Hey, Daniel. Okay, so let me pull up. We have active Amber Alerts. I think they're for siblings. Let me check. So this is I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Azon Turner. He has been missing since today from Riviera Beach, Florida. He is 3. He is a black male with black hair, brown eyes, 3 feet tall, 32 pounds. Last seen wearing a khaki shirt, khaki shorts, black light up shoes with red trim. The vehicle information is a black Toyota with front end damage. It says an Amber Alert has been issued for Azon, a black male, 3 years old, 3 feet tall, 32 pounds, last seen khaki shirt, shorts, black light up shoes, red trim. And then we have Akachi Turner. Again, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, who's a black male, 11 years old, 5 feet tall, 72 pounds, black hair, brown eyes, last seen wearing a black shirt, black pants, high top FILA sneakers. The children were last seen in the area of the 1200th block of West 6th Street in Riviera Beach, Florida. The children may be in the company of Audrey Turner, a black female who is 5 feet 5 inches tall, 180 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. Last seen wearing a black tank top and cream skirt with black stripes. Audrey may be wearing her hair in a ponytail and has a nose ring. They may be traveling in a black Toyota sedan with front end damage. They may be with an unknown black female traveling to Georgia towards the Atlanta area. Recommended action: if you have information on, don't hesitate, call 911 or the Riviera Beach Police Department at 561-845-4123. Here's Akachi.
Oh.
And then we have the unknown, but then here's Audrey. So concerning.
Yeah.
It said active Amber Alert, so be on the lookout.
That's good.
So I kind of want to just go through some of the the newer reports, if you're okay with that, Shay. If everyone's okay with that, let's kind of just float around and bob around if you guys are good, because there's some in there that I have seen that I'm interested in. I'm interested in all of it, but my ADHD mind can't wait because it's taking me forever to do all of my lives, So I'm like, I gotta jump around here a little bit because I'm curious. And so I saw Harlot had said, if I scroll all the way up, that's interesting. I hadn't heard about that. Harlot had said, oh goodness, where was it? Maddie's mom is suing Moscow to try to get them to stop releasing photos of Maddie's bedroom. She got an RO, and Moscow apparently says they're not releasing any more photos of any bedrooms until it gets sorted out in court. Does anyone know if the crime scene photos have been released to individuals yet, or is it still only Idaho and or media? I can only tell you with my request, I haven't received anything back yet. Again, I did not anticipate to. We're very low down on the list. And Jeanette Levy just put up a short about it a half hour ago. Thank you, Harlot. Hi, Harley. Hi, C. Carter. Have you heard about that, Jen?
Yeah, I saw Sleuthy had posted the press release on Twitter, and I sent it in the group, but it was way earlier when you were working.
Oh, geez. What did he say? Oh, you did. Okay, so it says the mother of Madison Mogen has filed a temporary restraining order to prevent the further release of any images, audio, or video depicting the inside of Madison's bedroom until a hearing is held. Even though the temporary order only applies to Madison's room, the police department won't be releasing any additional photographs or videos of any of the victims' bedrooms until the matter is settled in court. And the press release says temporary restraining order issued for Kohberger public records release. So on August 12th, the city of Moscow was served a notice of a petition to the Leda County District Court for a temporary restraining order and injunction. That's very interesting route to go in. Sorry, I'm just pausing real quick. I never thought about a restraining order to the police department for FOIA requests that they're fulfilling.
Well, I mean, I guess it seems like that would have to be the route legally they would have to go, right? Because the only other thing you really ever see after that is when they push through legislation, like with minors. And this isn't a minor's death.
Right.
Yeah. So
ooh, see, this is a hard one because my heart completely goes out to them and I sympathize greatly. But with that being said, at the same time, this is standard. This is the way that our system handles things. It's the Freedom of Information Act, and it's for transparency purposes. And I do see a potential issue down the line if this is the route that I don't know how they're going to grant a restraining order for a police department that is just essentially doing its job, and so I don't know how I feel about that. And again, I could feel complete sympathy, and my heart goes out, and I can't imagine. But at the same time, it's not solely about this case versus the bigger picture here. And you can't start, oh, well, that's what we're based on the Freedom of Information Act and having that transparency. And how are they going to do that for one and not do that for all?
Yeah. I mean, this is coming from one of the families that, supported the plea deal. And ultimately, if they would have gone to court, a lot of that stuff would have been out there to some degree, maybe not on the
Yeah,
television.
100%.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel for them, but it is kind of a sticky situation, especially since it is such a high profile case. What I had seen, there's been like written approval by some of their legal representatives within MPD that those pictures were blurred of the bodies. So knowing that the bodies are in the photos, that's also probably just traumatic for them. It's not like it's like they're removed.
For sure. And again, I don't blame them at all. I can't imagine. I don't want to imagine. But putting emotions aside in the aspect of this is a potential issue, you can't do for one and not do for what. It's period. Legislation would have to change, rules would have to change because it doesn't go by a case by case basis.
Yeah, this would all be, state law. So whatever I don't really know what their rules and regulations are. But it is interesting
to go about with a restraining order, Shay.
I know, and I was thinking, is that the only way you could go about it because they are adults? That's what I was wondering,
Because a restraining order doesn't make sense in my mind at all. That's against harassment, which you can go towards that angle if people are using said photos and stuff to, which absolutely nobody should do, harass the families or something. But how can you take a restraining out? It's probably just buying time, for them to figure out a different move. But how do you take a restraining out on the PD unless, and I don't mean to get a little conspiratorial here, this was a joint agreement type thing to buy time until something else, another route can be taken.
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly, Harlot. And you can't pick and choose. And again, this isn't towards the family. I'm just generally speaking. Then it would have to apply to all. It can't apply to just one because every family member of a victim, I'm sure, feels that way. So that's a little bit of a hard one. That's a hard one. And I've never heard about an RO being taken out towards a police department to stop FOIAs being fulfilled.
Yeah, I would be curious what that document looks like,
Yeah, because I didn't. So this is Idaho. I'm not super familiar with Idaho's, because not even everywhere has their own, there's restraining orders, personal protection orders. Everyone has their own version of things, but that's weird. I think it was even said they didn't want them coming out. And I really do sympathize. I do. I cannot imagine, but it poses an issue on a bigger scale. I'm sure every family member feels that way, and it sucks, but then it has to be taken higher up because it can't be a case by case situation. It's a freedom of information. That's what our nation is founded on, And thank you so much, Samantha, for the memberships. Congratulations if you guys got it. Please thank Samantha.
Yay. I put in chat a link for you. It looks like it talks a little bit more about the judge's rulings. So not just a press release.
Thank you.
I haven't read it yet, so I don't know if it'll help us.
Okay, you want to read it?
Sure. So the judge blocks further release of records in UI murder case. It says Moscow, Idaho, Clue, KLEW station. The city of Moscow has been served with a petition for a temporary restraining order and injunction to halt the release of additional public records related to the case of State of Idaho v. Bryan Kohberger. The petition was filed on behalf of Karen Laramie, the mother of Madison Mogen, following the city's recent release of redacted crime scene photos in response to a public records request. On August 15, 2025, Idaho's 2nd District Judge Marshall issued a temporary restraining order prohibiting the release of any images, audio, or video depicting the inside of Maddie Mogen's bedroom until a hearing on the preliminary injunction can be held. The Moscow PD says Judge Marshall found that major portions of the released materials did not constitute an unwarranted invasion of privacy. However, he noted that some portions of videos and photographs, including unreleased body cam footage, could potentially invade privacy. While the restraining order specifically applies to Maddie Mogen's bedroom, the city of Moscow has decided not to release any further photographs or videos depicting the inside of any victim's bedrooms until the court fully reviews and decides the matter. So it's more so what they haven't released is what the judge is ruling on.
I'm very curious about how this is gonna go. And thank you, Chase, for 3 months. Most of you're awesome and everyone here. It's lovely seeing you, Chase.
Good to see you.
Okay. That's an interesting angle. Now, it needs to be fair across the board. And when I say that, this is and again, this is not towards the families. I'm just speaking in general. I can't imagine it has ever been easy for any victim's family. And this is a very mainstream media case, but I'm curious how many smaller cases that a lot of us have not heard of where this has been an issue and families have tried. And that's all I'm saying is that it needs to be fair across the board. It can't be a one case by one case because yes, this has massive media attention, but that doesn't take away or minimize any of the victims' families before who may have felt the same exact way.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it looked like they did a pretty good job of redacting stuff. Like even to some of the photos I saw where people were like, why are they redacting? There was like a linear vertical line of photos that Kaylee had on her wall, remember? And then like they even redacted that. So I was like, well, seems like they're doing a good job to try to redact anything that could be identifying to other people, etc.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. And it sucks because I'm not, this is not a dig towards the families at all. I can't imagine. I don't want to imagine. Just speaking without emotion, that's a hard one. It's a hard one. But I'm curious where it's going to go. But this is the ISP investigation reports that I want to start going through. Hi, Mallory. And so we're going to kind of just bounce around and see what it's got. We read that one, which was so super interesting, from someone who worked with Kohberger, and she essentially predicted this is going to become a predator. If we let him get his PhD, he is going to become a predator. Like, it was so interesting to read. So I'm excited to go through more of these. Hi, Seven Lilies. Hi, Triple L. We see these kinds of photos on TV all the time. This will keep things from being and that's the problem. And again, I don't want to imagine what they're going. I can't imagine. It's horrible, but it's normal in the sense of we have seen this with majority of cases. And so for the transparency aspect of it, is there, Harlot? Oh, I'm so excited. I could see it from both sides, but again, like it can't just be this is how we're going to handle this one case. It has to go across the board. It's what's fair, and so If it needs to be handled differently, then it needs to be handled higher up, not through a restraining order. I think that's just to buy time, though, probably while another move is in progress.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's see. All right. So these are interviews.
So just a reminder, the Idaho State Police ones came out last Friday afternoon when Melissa and I were live. We went and got the documents. Now these are redacted of even initials, guys, so we can't tell.
Yeah, it's hard. Do you want to go through each one? Do you want to jump around? What do you want to do?
Oh, girl, I don't care. You know me. I'll go for whatever.
I feel like our eyes, we're very familiar with this, and our eyes will be able to tell if it's something we want to go through. Because I know a lot of it's going to be. Okay. All right. Well, let's see. So this is, like Shay said, this is going to be hard because we don't even have initials. They're just full redactions. So it says on November 16th, and this is
This one looks good. Looks like they got a buccal swab from this person right at the bottom.
which they did from like every male in the area.
Wow.
But this is November 16th interview, approximately 3:16. Idaho State Police Investigations Lieutenant Caitlin and I interviewed. Why don't we just say, well, we'll probably figure out who it is, but okay, redacted. The interview took place at his parents' house located in Boise. Is this Jack?
I think, wait, would that be Jake?
Jake.
Maybe Maddie's boyfriend.
Yeah. So during the interview, redacted stated the following. His residence at school is in Moscow. His residence is approximately 200 and 300 feet from the location of the homicide. It had been a little nerve-wracking going outside of his apartment. He knew some of the homicide victims. He knew Maddie, Xana. He had met Kaylee the night before the homicide, but did not realize she was one of the victims until later. He did not know Ethan. At this point in the interview, his mother arrived home and was present for the remainder. He had known Maddie since their freshman year, and they were in the same pledge class for the fraternities and sororities on campus. Maddie had dated some of their friends and had positive interactions with this person's girlfriend in the past. Redacted had classes with Maddie, and they had done homework together periodically. He and Mogen had a lot of friends in common as well. He supposed he had met Goncalves prior to that night, but did not recall specifically. He had never met.
That's the boy from the corner club.
Yeah. He had never met Kernodle's boyfriend. He had heard that Ethan belonged to this fraternity. Ethan was also a year younger. So Maddie was dating one of this guy's fraternity brothers. He had spoken to that guy earlier in the day on November 16th. Redacted is a stand-up guy. Jake is a stand-up guy. Mogen's previous boyfriend was also one of this person's friends and is also a nice guy. He and Mogen were mostly just on and off friends. So Saturday night, the 12th, and into Sunday morning, the 13th, at the end of the game day, people went out to the bars. This person ran into Mogen at the corner club. Mogen and Kaylee were going to leave the bar to go to John Alley's and asked Redacted if he wanted to go with them. On the way to John Alley's, Maddie and Kaylee decided to get food at the grub truck instead. So they were at the grub truck with them, but was hanging out in the back because he was not getting any food. Someone in a silver sedan picked up Maddie and Kaylee. He assumed it was one of their friends. They told Maddie to have a good night, and the designated driver's shift had already ended at approximately 2 a.m. He had a good coat on, so he walked home. He thought it took about 20 to 30 minutes to walk home from the grub truck. So this is Hoodie Guy, got home around 3 a.m. and went to bed. Hoodie Guy showed on a map the way he walked home, and the way he described did not pass the residents of the homicide scene. Sunday, November 13th, Hoodie Guy woke up around 10 a.m. to watch NFL football. He left his house and went to Floyd's, a dispensary across the border in Washington. He couldn't remember if he went to Floyd's before he started watching football or if he started watching football, then went to Floyd's. He thought it was weird because he drove past the scene on his way to Floyd's and didn't see any police or anything out of the ordinary. During the morning, people called him to see if he knew what was going on down the street. He didn't believe them and walked out to see. So Hoodie Guy had to walk down the street to see the residents in the homicide scene. There was a rumor of an unconscious person, which seemed believable. During the group chat between the pledge classes from the fraternities and sororities, kids realized people were missing and something more than a person passed out might have happened. Most of his chats are via Snapchat. Some of the family, see, that's what it made sense. Okay. Some of the family members of the victim started letting people know about the homicide before the news did. You want to continue?
Sure. He heard a lot of people were packing up and leaving, and he felt jumpsy even leaving his apartment and walking out to his car. He would be able to do his classes online, so he packed up the next morning, Monday, November 14th, and left. He had only been to the residence where the homicide took place maybe once. When he did go there, he was pretty sure it was all different people living there. He heard there was a party there earlier that day that some of his friends went to. Then he went over to the corner club by himself because he had friends who went there and worked there. Blank, Mogen, and Kaylee were the only ones in their group who left the corner club and went to the grub truck. Of the victims, only Mogen and Kaylee were out at the bar, and then he believed Kernodle and Chapin were still underage. He thought the car in front of their house looked similar to the one who picked them up that night. It seemed like a friend that picked them up, not a random person. People usually use designated drivers from their fraternities or sororities. He thought maybe Xana and Ethan might have picked up Maddie and Kaylee up. And he doesn't usually go to parties. He usually goes to the bar. He heard a rumor that there was a party at the victim's residence earlier, and that Xana sometimes would get a little crazy with partying and redacted. Mogen just uses alcohol. Kaylee, he thought just drank alcohol. He doesn't remember meeting Kaylee prior to that night. And after the incident, he heard rumors of Kaylee having a stalker. Any girl who belonged to the redacted sorority should know about the stalker information. So Maddie and Kaylee, he believed both belonged to the blank sorority, which they were in different sororities, but anyways. He had an ex-girlfriend he was trying to get back together with. For most of the past few years, he had a girlfriend who went to a different school, so he hadn't been hanging out with a lot of people regularly. He had no idea who could have committed these homicides. Usually the craziest thing that happens are people getting minor in possessions and driving under the influence. He hadn't heard any rumors about why this could have happened. He thought the only reason someone might have acted out like this is for love. He heard
For love.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Passion.
Simmer down.
Here, there are videos of him at the grub truck with Maddie and Kaylee. The grub truck live streamed videos on Twitch TV, and news outlets have identified him in front of that video, or him from that video, and have called him. He left Moscow Monday around noon, traveled home by way of Ontario, Oregon instead of New Meadows because he doesn't like driving through the mountains. With consent, I collected buccal swabs from redacted, and he had no apparent injuries to his hands, forearms, head, or neck areas. The interview ended at approximately 4:02 p.m. For complete details, review audio recording of this interview, and the buccal swab and the audio recording of the interview were submitted into evidence under a tag number, and this was reporting officer James Miller. Interesting.
Okay.
Oh, this is that Moose Lodge thing. I remember that being talked about.
So this is November 17th. They conducted an interview with Redacted. Okay. So November 12th, he woke up, started watching college football, and then went to the gym. His roommate, Redacted, had a dart tournament at Moose Lounge, the Moose Lodge, which is next door to the corner club. Approximately 5 or 6 p.m., he went to the Moose Lodge and started drinking. Moose Lodge had a veteran special. They were at Moose Lodge until approximately 9 p.m., and then they went to Mingles Bar and Grill for about an hour. After Mingles, they went to the corner club, but at this point in the evening, he was intoxicated. He did not remember getting kicked out of the corner club and did not know why he was kicked out. At approximately 11:21, he and Maddie took a picture together while they were at the corner club. Mogen said it in a group text. Also sent with the photo was a text message saying, quote, "Get to the club," redacted. He didn't remember taking the photo with Maddie and didn't remember who Mogen even was with. Who Mogen even was with. This was also the first time he'd seen Maddie outside of class and school projects. He didn't remember much from the evening, but he said he walked home from the corner club. His address was redacted. His roommate got home around 1:30 to 1:40. His other roommate told him he got home about 30 minutes before him, and that was the end of the night for them. His roommates are redacted, and they're a couple. On November 13th, he woke up at approximately 12 p.m. He learned of the incident through a vandal alert that afternoon, which explained the situation. An hour after receiving the first vandal alert, he received another, which told him there was no suspect and to remain vigilant. A third vandal alert was sent out that evening while he was at work, which had details of how many victims there were. He didn't know Maddie was one of the victims until Monday afternoon when he received an email from his professor of marketing. He, Maddie, and Redacted are in marketing at the university and work together on group projects. They were working on a project for Redacted, which was a cafe in town Maddie worked for. When they worked on projects together, they would meet and work in basement of the Albertsons building on campus. He hadn't ever been to Maddie's house and didn't know until recently where she lived. You want to take over?
Yes. Oh, lordy. He worked at Redacted in Moscow and has worked for Blink for 8 years in total. As he transferred colleges, he moved stores with Redacted. His boss at the store carried old K-bar knives, but they were an old clearance item. He didn't know what kind of sheath the K-bar knife would come with. He didn't know Kaylee and didn't remember seeing her at the corner club. He didn't know any of the victims besides Maddie. Maddie was the only person from the house he spoke with, and it was mainly related to class projects. He'd only talked to Maddie. Sorry. He only talked to Maddie approximately 4 to 5 times throughout the school year. They mainly used text messaging to communicate, and he read us the group text he, Maddie, and Redacted used. The last text from Maddie was the photo and text message at the corner club. Redacted responded the following day, which was the last text in the thread. He was attending his last semester at the university, and he thought Maddie was going to finish in 2023. He started college at Treasure Valley Community College, transferred to Utah Tech University, and from 2017 to 2019, he started attending the University of Idaho. In 2019, he joined the Army Reserve as a culinary specialist. After 2 years, he went back to the U of I to finish his schooling. He never heard of any issues Maddie had with anyone, and he did not know if Maddie used any narcotics. They never spoke of anything personal. So it's interesting because they are asking them a lot about usage of stuff, you know?
It seems like they did explore that avenue.
I mean, pretty heavily, it seems.
Well, there was drugs out, to be fair.
Well, and that was going to be my question for you. Like, how much do you think that is weighted in people pushing that, or there being drugs apparently out at that time, you know?
I mean, I know it's drugs, but I wouldn't consider it like drugs. Like, you know what I mean? So
Right.
I think it makes sense that they explored all avenues, but I don't think that at all should, like, there's nothing about that I find it unusual.
Yeah. And maybe also just because of the demographic, like the age range. I wouldn't know statistics, obviously, but maybe they do, and they think that violent crimes can be, you know, linked to some things like that, you know, more
Well,
riskier
there's a
at that
whole
age.
opioid epidemic going on too.
True. Okay, so he didn't have a car and walked wherever he needed to go around the campus. He rode the bus home to Boise and borrowed his brother's pickup while he was in town. Redacted did not have any injuries to his hands, arms, or face, and at approximately 1:36 p.m., he consented to a DNA sample, which ISP Detective Millar arrived on scene and collected a DNA sample from them, which I took custody of and submitted to evidence. So this interview was concluded. They got buccal swabs and interview audio, and this was reported by Ryan Hoxie.
Thank you so much, Julie, for 15 months. 15 months with this awesome community. It's so lovely seeing you, and thank you so much for the support. 15 months is awesome. Okay, that's interesting.
Yes.
All right. Let's see. We have Dustin Blaker interviewing a girl at her residence. Let's see. So the interview was recorded by me and Sergeant Blaker. Thumb drive of the interview. Okay. So she stated the following. She is a sophomore at the U of I studying a pre-physical therapy. She has been a University of Idaho student for both years, freshman and this year. She had been residing at the residence where this incident occurred since August 2022. So who's this? Is this Beth? Who was a pre-physical therapy? Bethany? Okay.
I wonder. Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Since occurred since August 2022. Okay. Her friend and she moved into the residence, and the other female roommates she knew through their sorority, Maddie and Xana, prior to this year, and had also met Kaylee before, but Kaylee belonged to another sorority. She explained Kaylee was a senior in school. She described Xana as being a year older than herself. She also described 2 additional friends, but they were not residents in the house. She had explained that Redacted introduced her to Xana last year. They both reside in the apartment complex on campus that houses sorority members. So she described the layout of their residence and where each of the roommates resided, paraphrased based on Redaction's description of their residence. When you walk in, there is a door. There is downstairs with a bathroom, and that would be Bethany's bedroom, so it must be Dylan. When you walk into the door, there's a hallway with her bedroom and the kitchen and the sliding door. And upstairs is Kaylee's room and a bathroom and Maddie's room. Xana is on the same floor as her bedroom, so this is Dylan. Initially, she was asked to describe what the girls did on the 12th of November, but she described there was a ball on Friday night on the 11th at Pi Phi Sorority Ball when she briefly attended. She explained she started drinking at 4:30 p.m. on the 11th. She described the individuals at the ball, including all of her roommates, as well as Ethan and his triplet siblings, and their dates, who were Phi Gi fraternity members. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. So Kaylee was Redacted state for the ball. Dylan described how she got home on Friday night by using an Uber from the Pi Phi ball to their residence. She explained she and her roommates normally have Redacted as their Uber driver, but not on the night of the 11th. She does not remember the name of the Uber driver on Friday night. This was around 8:30, and she explained that she and the roommates trust this person. She advised the party initially transitioned to the Redacted, but she got bored and wanted to go home. It was she, Maddie, and Xana, and Ethan regarding the roommates who attended the ball. Eventually, a group from the Pi event transitioned and to other roommates' house, and there was a party that continued there until the early morning hours of the 12th. She requested to look at her cell phone during this point in the interview to verify the timeline. She was advised she could use her cell phone to provide times during her interview. She advised the other individuals that came to the house on Friday night were Redacted. Initially, she said it was Redacted, but corrected herself to say, oh no, not Redacted, but Redacted, who came to the house, and Redacted as well as herself. They were consuming large amounts of alcohol and playing music. She went to bed a little after 12:10 a.m., and then she added she went to bed sometime between 12:10 and 12:30 a.m. that morning on the 12th. Eventually, she advised Maddie came home and eventually Kaylee, but she was not certain about where Kaylee was when she went to bed. She then explained on Saturday morning, the 12th, at approximately 12:15, she then corrected the time to 11:44. The roommates went together to get coffee and to the store to get more alcohol. They still had champagne from the previous weekend, which was explained was the U of I's parents' weekend. She explained the plans for that Saturday night, including a Chi fraternity party on campus. Dylan explained Kaylee was not going to this function because she was a senior, and typically seniors do not attend the fraternity's functions on campus because they are old enough to go to the local clubs. Dylan explained she was going to the Chi party. Dylan further explained at one point Maddie was at this function but left the function to go to the club with Kaylee. You want to continue?
Yeah.
Hi, poor Linda.
They were all at the house together at 5 p.m. on Saturday, November 12th. Blake stated Kaylee decided to go take a nap, and Redacted, Maddie, Xana, and Redacted, and she were on the couch watching a movie. Redacted explained they were all together Saturday afternoon at the house, and they all decided to take naps, and each of the girls set their alarms for 8 p.m. They believed Ethan may have come over to the house at this time, but she was not certain if this is the time Ethan came over or if he showed up at a different time. She explained she had an assignment due in her Psychology 215 course, so she posted the assignment at approximately 10:12 p.m. She believes she then left the house at approximately 10:30 p.m. Saturday night. When she left the house, Kaylee was still there with one of her friends. However, she does not know the friend's name. She described the friend was female and was nice. After leaving the house, she saw Maddie between their residence and the redacted, and Maddie was holding a box of White Claws while she was walking towards their house. She advised she talked to Maddie, and then Redacted continued to the Redacted Kai function. She believed Maddie was going back to their residence to get ready to go to the club with Kaylee. Sergeant Blaker asked Redacted to give more details about the route she took when she encountered Maddie, and she provided those details in this interview. She explained when she got to the Kai function, she wanted to meet up with Xana and Redacted, and she called Xana on her cell phone to find out which apartment they were in, and she was told they were in an apartment Redacted. Others who were at that apartment at this time were Ethan, Redacted, Xana, Redacted. And she explained she and Redacted were going in and out of the fraternity lodge together for the part of the night. And she explained was not a lot of people at this function. She further explained after she met up with Redacted and the two of them went to Redacted's apartment. She was with Ethan, Chapin, and Xana during part of the night, and she explained Ethan had been trying to get in contact with his sister, Maisie, because she had been upset about something and he was worried about her. But Redacted did not know what the issue was. She remembered Redacted told her brother she had not been answering her cell phone because she had been sleeping. She described Ethan as being very protective of his sister as well as protective with all of the roommates. The group of them went to visit Redacted, who she had previously met through Xana, and Redacted was also there, including she and then a bunch of redactions were also there as well. When asked how much alcohol she had consumed, she explained she had been playing Rage Cage, which she described was a drinking game, and when she awakened from her nap, she consumed 3 White Claws with an alcoholic content of 5%. She denied there was any drug use and stated, Xana and Ethan used Redacted. She advised neither Maddie or Kaylee did drugs. She explained she nor Redacted never touched the stuff. She described the alcohol used at Redacted and Redacted residence, which included Redacted consuming a whole, in quotations, board, in which she also consumed some of the board. Based on a Google search I conducted relative to writing this report, a board is an alcoholic beverage which requires taking an empty gallon container and filling it halfway with water, adding vodka and enough Neo to make the taste of vodka disappear. The cocktail is often referred to as a Borg, but the nickname doubles as an acronym that stands for the drink's full name, Blackout Rage Gallon.
Oh, lovely.
Wow, I learned something new. She described Redacted as being extremely intoxicated and that she had continued to consume alcohol, and because of Redacted intoxicated condition, she advised she invited them to come back to her residence to watch movies, and because of Redacted intoxicated condition, she called a sobro, which she described is involving a sober freshman fraternity member who is a designated driver for fraternity and sorority members who are consuming alcohol to drive into their home safely. She advised it was only.
Sorry, I just want to thank MK. That was very kind of you. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
She advised it was only she and Redacted that went back to the residence using the Sobro. She did not believe anyone else was home. When the two of them got home, which she believed was sometime between 1:15 a.m. and 1:30 a.m. November 13th, she was intoxicated, and because of that, she does not remember what time it actually was, but she believed it was between the 2 times mentioned. She further advised she made popcorn in the kitchen, and she and Redacted watched Vampire Diaries together. Approximately 20 minutes later, I'm assuming this is probably Bethany returned home. The 3 of them laid down and continued watching Vampire Diaries. She believes she believes Redacted, so Xana may have walked home, and then she advised she does not know what time Redacted went to bed. She had already gone to bed and does not know when they may have left or when they went to bed. Okay. So at approximately 2 or 2:30 a.m., she awakened because Maddie and Kaylee arrived home with grub truck food and they had mac and cheese, which Dylan explained they normally got. All four of them were together, which included Dylan, Bethany, Maddie, and Kaylee. And she advised they were taking selfie videos. All the girls talked about getting grub truck food. She did not believe Xana and Ethan were home because their bedroom door was open and she did not see them. And she discussed whether she may have been mistaken about this fact. And then she said she was certain she saw their door was open and they were not home. Okay, can I pause real quick? Because I am noticing a lot of the leaks and stuff sound like some of these ISP reports.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
So she went to bed, which she advised was after texting Eric, the Uber driver. Dylan looked at her phone to determine what time she had texted Eric, the Uber driver, and said her phone said 3:10 a.m. But after further discussion, Dylan admitted she was some confused about whether she was using Moscow time or Boise time. And Dylan explained her timeline may be off by an hour because of this issue, specifically during this interview, referencing Boise time instead of providing the time it would have been in Moscow when these events were occurring on the 13th of November. She explained she uses Snapchat as well as her cell phone to communicate with her friends, and she advised if there is a lack of text communications on her cell phone, it's because she had transitioned to using the Snapchat app for her method of communication. She advised her login information with Snapchat is redacted and her password is either redacted or redacted. She denied knowing her roommate's passwords to either cell phones, and while they were together, they talked about ordering grub truck. And she then texted Eric, the Uber driver, at approximately 3:10 a.m. She explained she texted them, "Are you driving by chance?" At approximately 3:13 a.m., Eric texted her back, so she went to bed. She does not believe they ever came to the house because she never responded because he never responded to his text about the fact that he was still driving. She advised Eric, the Uber driver, is in his 30s, is married, and has one child. She advised all the girls knew him and liked him. Dylan advised she's not certain if she stayed awake to watch more Vampire Diary episodes or if she went to sleep. She was not certain if she locked the bedroom door, and she was not certain if she locked the sliding door because she was the one who usually did, but she also volunteered in her statement that she believed Moscow was a safe place so the sliding door was not always locked. She does not remember if anyone locked the sliding glass door before she went to bed, and she was the first to go to bed ahead of the other roommates. And she explained that she previously had a lot of dreams where she had been kidnapped in her dreams. And she further explained these types of dreams started in high school, and she knew they were dreams, and she would let those things happen in her dreams because she realized they were dreams. She advised she does not suffer from anxiety and denied prior life trauma other than divorced parents.
She definitely suffers from anxiety.
Oh, okay. Dylan explained she was awakened to a noise sometime between 4 a.m. and 4:20 a.m. And she was asked to explain the amount of alcohol she had consumed before going to bed. And she again explained while she was playing Rage Cage, which included the White Claws, part of Redacted Borg, and maybe 2 or 3 more drinks of White Claws at Redacted's house. She denied drinking after she left that house. She advised she had been consuming the alcohol until approximately 1:15 to 1:30 a.m. on Sunday morning. She denied drinking any more alcohol after she and Redacted got back to the residence. At 4:22 a.m., she confirmed this information by looking at the texted communication on a cell phone. She texted Kaylee asking her what's going on. She advised her phone said 5:22 a.m., which she advised would have been 4:22 a.m. Moscow time. Okay, so this makes sense. So she's sitting in Boise and it's doing the clock update. Okay. I was wondering what that meant earlier. Okay, so she advised around 4 a.m. or 4:20, she heard Kaylee singing and playing music. She heard who she believed Kaylee walking up the stairs and advised she heard Kaylee say, "Someone's here." And she sounded frantic. Dylan described Kaylee's tone as somewhere between talking and yelling it. She believed it was Kaylee who was walking up the stairs with Murphy. She said she heard who she believed to be Kaylee running down the stairs, and she advised Murphy was barking at this time.
Yeah,
And then
see, like that, I'm really considering that may have been Xana because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense otherwise. Like, it makes sense that Dylan's brain went to what she assumed because she didn't assume it would be Xana, you know?
yeah, that's a good point. So we have redacted advice. She has been redacted. So we don't know what that was. She does not believe Murphy is normally a barker, and she further stated she believed it was Kaylee who was running down the stairs after she heard her say someone is here. She further explained she does not know if she actually heard this or whether she was drunk and did not actually hear any of this. She heard the footsteps of who she believed to be Kaylee. She explained all the girls wear Doc Martens and that this is what she believes she was hearing Kaylee come down the stairs wearing her Doc Martens because the sound of the footsteps coming down the stairs. Dylan called redacted at sorry, this has got to be Bethany at 4:19 a.m. Then Xana at 4:20 a.m. Kaylee at 4:20 a.m. and then Bethany again at 4:20 a.m. Dylan advised Bethany told her about seeing fireworks. She texted Bethany a last time at 4:27 a.m. before she went to Bethany's room. Dylan then explained when she first opened her door and she said she did not see anyone. The second time she opened her door, she heard who she believed to be Kaylee crying and believed Kaylee was in the second floor bathroom. She then heard a male voice, which she stated she had never heard before, say, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Dylan believed the unidentified male was in the bathroom and with the person who was crying. She believes it was Kaylee who was the one crying. Dylan stated that now she was gathering additional information. She now believes it was probably Xana who was crying. And at the moment of hearing the crying, she stated she believed it was Kaylee who was crying. She advised she knows the male's voice was not Ethan's voice. She described the last episode of Vampire Diaries and she remembered it was two males rescuing a female. She explained it was not violent. She advised the male figure in the last episode was wearing all black, but Dylan explained that was normal of the series. She's not certain whether she heard Murphy barking during the first time she opened her door, but she advised it was possible he was barking, but Murphy was moving away from the house. She described Murphy was a puppy and Dylan had just met him in August. She could not describe Murphy as being skittish.
Thank you, FOS. You two are doing a redacting amazing job reading these. Thank you.
Thank you. She advised she opened and closed her door a total of 3 times, and the 4th time is when she left her bedroom to go downstairs to Bethany's room. Dylan advised she continued to call and text her roommates, but received no answers. She provides the time she called and texted her roommates, and the time span she advised would have been between 4:20 a.m. to 4:27 a.m. She advised she never thought about an intruder. In her mind, she stated she was not processing what was occurring as threatening. She advised she believed the male was directing his conversation of who she believed was Kaylee. She advised she did not believe the male was directing that statement to her. And discussing why the offender did not harm her, it was discussed that it was possible the male knew her and wanted to protect her. And she said she understood that was possible, but she denied knowing who the suspect was. Dylan further explained she Snapchatted Ethan but received no answers from Ethan. She thought Ethan was still either at Blank Kai or was at home. She was not certain. The 3rd time Dylan opened her door, she said her vision was blurry or fuzzy, but she advised she saw a figure or someone that was dressed all in black. They were masked. He was holding an item of what she initially perceived was a vacuum. But she said that that did not make sense to her. She described the suspect as not being muscular, but being skinny in tone like a basketball player. She further described him as being taller than her, 5'10" frame by at least 3 inches, so he would have been 6 foot in height. She advised he had to have heard her call Kaylee and Xana, and she thought he would have had to heard her calling for them, and she was confused as to why he did not come to her room. Oh Lord.
Wait,
What?
it's being taller? He had to have heard her call Kaylee and Xana, and she thought he would have had to. See, she would have been calling it loud enough. That's really interesting to me. But at the same time, his adrenaline must have been rushing so much. And Murphy barking, I'm curious if he did even audibly hear her.
Yeah, I kind of thought maybe he didn't hear her. Because I don't know about you, but I've always had this fear that, like, when it comes to the time, like, you need help and you need to scream for help, you can't scream loud enough.
Yeah.
And maybe she wasn't in that fear, but, like, maybe she thought she called them loud enough but didn't, or because he was hyper focused on what was going on, he didn't hear. I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, so
No, not calling on the phone, Callie, because look, you could see she said he had to have heard her call, and she thought he would have had to have heard her calling for them, and she was confused as why he did not come to the room. So if it was a phone, he wouldn't have heard that, and there would be no reason for him to come to the room. You know what I mean?
yeah, she's calling out their names. She described the item. She described the item the suspect was holding, which she advised was like a cylinder, and she remembered a quote cop talking about a bow. So she was trying to ascertain if what she saw was in fact shaped like a bow. Dylan further stated she thought that maybe it was a firefighter because of what Redacted told her about seeing. Oh, Bethany told her about seeing a firecracker. She advised he would have been approximately 3 feet away from her, and she believes she saw him walking out the back sliding glass door. He had looked at her before walking out the back door, and she was not certain if he could see her whole body or just her head. Interesting.
Very interesting.
So 422, then Dylan corrected her time and stated at 423, she advised she texted Bethany and they conversed about someone wearing all black. And Bethany said something to the effect of, what the fuck? Dylan said, what the fuck? Why is Xana wearing all black? She explained she was not certain if she had been dreaming this or if this was real. And Dylan explained she saw the suspect holding something she believed to be cylinder shaped and also shaped like a triangle at the bottom of the cylinder shape, which sounds like a knife. Okay. So she advised the suspect was approximately 3 feet away from her and he looked at her but was walking out the sliding door. When she saw him, she said she saw his eyebrows. Approximately 4:23 a.m.
See,
she
that
texted.
would be more along lines of looking back at her.
Yeah, because the way I thought we always perceived it was like he was walking towards her, but everything kind of sounds like he literally, it's in motion, like he is
Yep.
walking towards and past.
I always believed he saw her. Always.
At approximately 4:23 a.m., she texted Bethany to tell her she saw a masked suspect in their house, and Bethany responded approximately 4:25 a.m., telling her to come to her bedroom and that it's better than them being alone. Dylan then left her bedroom after opening her door the fourth time and ran to Bethany's bedroom downstairs. Dylan advised when she left her bedroom, she looked down the hallway to Xana's bedroom and could see Xana lying on her back in her underwear. But she thought at the time Xana was passed out. Dylan stated she never went into Xana's room and she could only see Xana from the hallway as she was running to get to Bethany's room. She advised she was too scared to go into Xana's room and she knew Bethany was awake and she knew to go there because she was scared, and she saw Xana was wearing her underwear and she explained Xana was comfortable enough with the roommates that she would wear her underwear around them, so this was not unusual. And when asked about the lighting conditions inside the residence, she advised that possibly Xana's light was on or the party lights were on, and that is how she was able to see Xana, because otherwise she would not have been able to see her lying on the floor without any lights being on. She was not certain if the bathroom lights were on, but she was not certain what lights were on, if any. She advised Xana did not say anything. Dylan stated she did not think anything was wrong, and she later offered she may have been able to see Xana lying on the floor because they also had a Sensi light, and it could have been she was able to see Xana from the Sensi light. My Sensi lights are pretty bright, so I could understand that.
It is.
Huh?
I don't know what a Scentsy light is.
It's like the wax warmers, like, you know,
Oh,
like you get from Nay, like you put your wax melts in the
yeah.
little
Mine
burner.
doesn't light up.
Yeah, mine do. Mine like I have some that like glow pretty bright, and I have others that are more dim. Like they're almost like lamps of their own, you know?
Hmm. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So she explained she had been trying to determine what was real from everything that she had been talking about with Sergeant Blaker and myself, and she advised she knew the time with Bethany, Kaylee, and Maddie were real because she has the video of them together. She was not certain how redacted got home that day. She further explained she had been trying to piece things together because some things do not make sense to her. And she stated that she's being truthful, but some of what she has been discussing, she's not certain is factual. She's been working through it to try to remember what happened. And Dylan was asked if the female who was crying was saying anything, and she advised no. The female was only crying, and the male was the only one talking. She described the item the suspect was holding was cylinder shaped and was also triangular shaped. Okay. So she could not remember if the lights were on or off when she encountered the male suspect. But she did advise she does not know if this is even something she saw or it's something she dreamed. The last time she saw Xana was at Redacted House at approximately 11:04 p.m. And this was confirmed by checking her cell phone, and Xana had been holding a White Claw. She was at Redacted at 12:49 a.m. She further advised Xana and Ethan did not stay at Ethan's house with any frequency because of Ethan's grades. He could not reside at the fraternity. He had his own apartment, but she does not know where his apartment is because she'd never been there. And she knows Kaylee and Maddie were home when she went to bed, and Bethany, and from what she saw, Xana lying on the floor, but she was not certain about whether Ethan was home. She advised she left redacted house at approximately 12:49 a.m. to return home, and Dylan stated, hold on one second. Sorry. Dylan stated she's certain at 3:11 a.m., which through discussion might have been 2:11 a.m. Moscow time. Bethany, Kaylee, Maddie, and she were all in the house. She was not certain about Xana and Ethan because she does not know when they came home. So she denied perceiving a threat even after encountering the male in the hallway. She said that there were people coming in and out of their house all the time. She denied remembering what his face looked like. And said she could see that his head and mouth were covered, but she could see his eyebrows, and further advised she was not certain she could see his nose. When asked if she knew what a balaclava was, and she said no, so I asked Sergeant Blaker to show Dylan a picture of a balaclava from his cell phone. And by looking at a picture of a balaclava, she said it could have been that could have been it. She does not remember seeing his mouth or nose, but she could see his eyebrows. So when asked if any of her roommates told her about prior incidents involving anything that concerned them, and she advised Kaylee had told them, Redacted, and the other roommate about an incident a month prior when she was outside with Murphy about a subject who had been watching her. The subject was in the apartments above the girl's residence. Dylan further explained that 2 to 3 weeks ago, while at Winco, Kaylee told her about a male subject that followed her from the Winco store all the way to Kaylee's car. Even when Kaylee went to leave, the subject was standing by Kaylee's car. Also, 2 to 3 weeks ago, all of the roommates went to Starbucks together, and when they got home, their front door was wide open, and they do not believe it had been open when they left. She explained there were prior issues with the front door, so she said it was possible the door opened because there had been a snowstorm, and she explained possibly the wind caused the door to open. Also, when they got home, the washer was going, which she described was not unusual, but this also concerned her. She explained because of these things, they went to get Ethan's golf clubs to protect themselves when they searched the house. Oof.
You want me to take over?
And I mean, it's 2 pages. It's up to you.
It says that Dylan explained weeks prior to the 13th, Kaylee told the roommate she heard a woman scream, but no one else heard it. Dylan was asked if she was telling either Sergeant Blaker and I anything to prevent us from solving this, and she advised no, that she understood my question, and she advised that she knew she did not sleep through the whole incident because she has texted communication and other things that she knows would have required her to be awake. She advised that she knows what she heard, especially about hearing who she believed was Kaylee crying and the male voice telling her he was there for her. She stated again that she does not know how much of what she had been telling us was not factual because she is still processing the events. When asked why she believes she was spared after the male suspect saw her, she said she does not know why, and she does not believe anyone ever tried to open her door during the time he was in the house, and he could have easily have done so. And why he would have passed by her room multiple times, she volunteered to come through the sliding glass door. The person would have had to have scaled a tall wall. She advised the suspect would have known her room would have been occupied because he appeared to have known the layout of the house. She also said it could have been someone who was in the house last year when the other girls were living in the house. She advised that there was no one she knows who would have wanted to hurt the girls, and the girls were loved by everyone. She said she had never heard even rumors which were negative about any of the victims. When asked about Kaylee's ex-boyfriend, Jack, Dylan advised that they broke up and it was mutual, and they have their dog Murphy in common. And Jack comes to their residence and plays with Murphy, and he and Kaylee continue to be friends. When asked if they co-parented Murphy, she said yes. Kaylee told her the relationship with Jack had run its course, and Dylan thought that Jack had handled the breakup well because every time he came to the house, there did not seem to be an issue. Dylan had brought up the name Redacted, but she mispronounced his last name during the interview as someone she and the others believed might be involved, but she was reluctant to say he was a suspect because she knows how damaging to his reputation that could be if he were not involved. She advised she was told by Redacted, Xana's best friend, that Redacted once punched a friend of theirs, Redacted, in the stomach last year, but Dylan did not know the circumstances as to why. Dylan advised that recently Kaylee started talking to Redacted, and Jack seemed okay with that. Dylan offered her DNA. Sergeant Blaker secured a swab from Dylan at the conclusion of the interview. She advised there might be difficult to locate the offender's DNA because they had conducted a deep clean of their residence leading up to Parents' Weekend. When asked about when the deep clean of the residence occurred, it would have been before the weekend of the crimes. She was advised there was evidence left in the residence, and she sighed and said she was glad to hear that there was evidence found at the scene. She explained, redaction, when asked if she would be able to provide a description to a police composite artist, she said she would not be able to describe enough of the suspect to be helpful. She further advised the only thing she remembered about his face was that his eyebrows were bushy. She advised she was confused about why the offender would have taken the patio door out of the residence because of the drop-off from the patio. She advised that she remembered that cars do come to their residence a lot, and she said there was a black truck driving past Bethany's window. And she further said she was not absolutely certain it was a black truck, but there was a vehicle that went by their residence and she could see the taillights, but she did not remember if the headlights were on. But she drew her attention to it was the red lights of the back of the truck. And when asked if she meant brake lights, she said yes. When asked what occurred after she went to Bethany's bedroom, she said they eventually fell asleep. And when she awakened, she was lying next to Bethany in Bethany's bed. She advised a friend of theirs, Redacted and Redacted's mother, are planning a memorial event, and that has helped her emotionally. She advised Redacted is crying a lot over this, but she has not been crying, and Redacted has explained to her why she has not been showing emotions. She explained Redaction used the word dissociate to describe her emotions. When she awakened that morning, Bethany was next to her in bed. They were both too scared to leave Bethany's room to even go to the bathroom. She advised at approximately 11:23 a.m.
I was wondering that if they even went to the bathroom.
Yeah, we speculated that, like, how didn't they go to the bathroom, especially with drinking?
I know, yeah.
She advised at approximately 11:23 a.m., but then corrected the time to 10:23 a.m. Moscow. She said she texted Maddie asking if she was up. 11:29 texted Kaylee, "Are you up?" She could tell her Snapchats were not being read when she was texting them through Snapchat. Dylan advised that she called Redacted, one of her closest friends, Emily, about what happened that night with the masked man. Dylan then explained when she reached out in the text message, which Redacted told her was at 10:50, but she thinks that was a mistake. Emily told her she would send Hunter to their house because of their concerns about what had occurred during that night. When Hunter got to the house, which she described was before noon, she is not certain if he came through an unlocked front door or had to use the code to the front door to get into the residence. And when he got into the house, he asked about the location of a knife, and she directed him to a knife. She advised that she initially went upstairs from Bethany's bedroom with Hunter, and she advised when she saw Xana, she realized Xana had not moved since she saw her earlier. She was still thinking Xana was still passed out from being drunk. Hunter then sent Dylan downstairs. She advised that Emily and Josie came over after Hunter came to the house because she had asked them to come to the house. She advised Hunter then came downstairs, and she could tell by his facial expression he had seen something, and he told them to call 911. Bethany was the one to call 911, and Dylan at one point said she was on the phone with police dispatch, and the dispatcher was asking her about a defibrillator. They told dispatch there were people unconscious. Dylan denied seeing Xana or any of the other victims' bodies. She advised they stayed in the house when the police arrived, and the police, were putting the tape up when they realized there had been a crime. And when they saw the ambulance arrive and leave, someone told them that they would not leave unless there was no reason to stay. She then advised the vandal alert came out, and that is when they realized their friends were actually gone. She advised that they all realized there had actually been a murder committed inside the residence. She said Kaylee had a balcony, and she remembered looking at the pictures in the news, and Kaylee's curtains were all messed up. She thought the distance of the balcony to the ground might have been too much and brought too much attention if that is how the suspect made entry into the house through Kaylee's bedroom. When asked if she checked for the house for anyone else when she initially came home for the night, she was asked if she had to unlock the front door, and she advised she believed she had to unlock the front door to get into their residence. She advised when she first got home, she remembered the sliding door was closed, but she did not know if it was locked. She advised when she first got home, she went to Kaylee's bedroom to let Murphy out of Kaylee's room, and Kaylee's lights were on, and no one was in Kaylee's bedroom. Murphy came back into the house after going outside. Sergeant Blaker asked Dylan about the login and username for the router or for the Wi-Fi at the residence, and Dylan advised that Kaylee was responsible for that bill. She further explained that she nor Bethany were responsible for the Wi-Fi bill because they had just moved into the residence in August. So she had some follow-up questions for Dylan outside of the interview, and as a result, the audio recording was turned off at 2:11 this same date.
Dang.
What do you think?
I think they interviewed her a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if in there, because I was trying to understand where News Nation or Bethel and them were getting this whole thing about it's okay, I'm here for you, Kaylee, or whatever. And I don't know if it's in here, but like I noticed how they said that he thought that he was talking to Kaylee and saying, I'm here for you. Did they get misconstrued by that? Because I don't think he ever said it's ever been stated the person said one of the roommates' names.
Yeah, no, we did read the one that it said, it's okay, Kaylee, I'm here for you. But then it was actually Banfield who had said that. But no, we did read, I don't remember which one we read. But then it was like she later then thought it was Xana, so I don't know. I'd have to go back. I know we read one that said it because I was like, what the hell? Like this whole time it was always, it's okay, I'm here to help. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And now
it's
okay, Kaylee, I'm here for you, and it was weird. And I just think we can't rely on that because she is saying she always thought it was Kaylee. I think that's what her brain put together, and we can't rely on that.
Right.
I don't know because it's very inconsistent as far as the words she heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7 lilies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be really curious I don't know if if they'll release the audio or the video recordings of the interviews.
Probably not. Not.
You don't think so?
Not with the way it's going. Yeah, saying Kaylee's in the docs, but I think she misheard or misremembered. It would have been Xana, and I'm sure BK knew who. For sure. I think, again, her brain. Listen, they were in this was their house. It was a college house. There were people in and out all the time. Whenever she heard, there was no reason for the other girls to go up to the third floor aside from Kaylee and Maddie. Really, you know, like, and so anytime, and Dylan's room was right underneath the stairs, you know, like anytime she heard going up and down, it makes sense that her brain went to who was usually that you're hearing going up and down, you know, like I think it was just her brain going to a rational explanation. But I'm really starting to think that was Xana who went up and said there's someone here. But then I struggle with they were covered. And so unless she interrupted at the exact time where he was finishing, you know, like to the point where he had time to cover them, like it's strange.
Yeah. So then I kind of wonder, you know, how you said, like, is it possible like Xana went to the kitchen for something, saw this sliding glass door?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then the bathroom keeps getting kind of brought up. So
But I
I was
think
wondering,
Dylan thought it's just that direction. Again, I think her brain filled in the gaps and it wasn't the bathroom. It was clearly Xana's room, but her brain went to, well, where would Kaylee be? Kaylee, if anything, maybe the second floor bathroom. It was that direction.
okay,
You know what I mean? At that point, she still didn't think it was Xana. She thought it was Kaylee. Well, where would Kaylee be with this random guy? Maybe the second floor bathroom. It's coming from that direction.
yeah.
It doesn't make sense, but I think it's what her brain put together and rationalized it as.
Hmm.
Now,
Yeah,
this is the girl. Go ahead.
Oh, so no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying this is the girl from across the street that I think we saw in the Prime documentary.
Okay. All right, I'll read this one. So she lived at Redacted King Road across the street from 1122 King Road House. One of the people across the street was a former sorority sister. One was a classmate. The other two were people she knew through mutual friends, and she knew Maddie Mogen and Kaylee Goncalves the best. Her boyfriend was best friends with Maddie's boyfriend, so they hung out a lot. This was a current relationship, and Maddie was in a class with her. Kaylee was um, a sorority sister, and she knew Xana and Ethan Chapin in passing. She has lived at Redacted King Road for just the semester and is currently a senior in school. And she lived in the sorority house for 3 years, and this is the first year outside of the sorority. She's been inside the 1122 King Road house multiple times, with the last time being in September, and they came over to her house more often. She had known Maddie and Kaylee for 3 years, and they met through recruitment. She saw Maddie and Kaylee Saturday night, November 12th. They went to the corner club after the game. Maddie and Kaylee were already there when she arrived. She was there for a couple of hours and was really drunk. She left before Maddie and Kaylee, and it was sometime around midnight. Kaylee had jokingly mentioned she thought she had a stalker at Winco. It happened once and was an unknown person. She heard from another friend an instance of the house door at 1122 King Road being open after all the roommates returned from a weekend trip. She has a basement room and can see the 1122 King Road house from it. She woke up at 9 a.m. on Sunday morning and she didn't hear or see anything that night. 1122 King Road didn't have a party Saturday night. They may have had one on Friday, but it wasn't crazy. Maddie and Redacted were a solid couple. Oh, were a solid couple and dated for a year. And Jake was with her, or sorry, Redacted was with her boyfriend in Boise that weekend. The interview concluded at 12:52 p.m. Hmm.
I'm really curious to get to like the Bryan ones.
Oh yeah. We've read quite a bit of the ones from friends. Not that I'm still not interested in them.
No, I know, yeah, definitely. But yeah, like a lot of them are parallel to the ones that we've read. I don't know when the Kohberger ones start. I'm sorry, I'm just glancing over. Oh, okay. This is interesting. So this was with one of Kaylee's friends, and it said Kaylee once said that once her and Jack broke up, if he would want to hurt her, Kaylee described Jack to her as her child and was not a serious guy. Jack was in the fraternity and they all hung out together since they lived next door. She described Kaylee and Jack as a brother-sister relationship. They shared Murphy, the dog, and the sergeant asked her if she thought Jack would do anything to hurt her, and she believed he would never do anything to hurt her. Jack was described as a city guy, and she did not think he did a lot outdoors. He was from Coeur d'Alene area and grew up with his sisters. So I just thought that was interesting, like her child. So this just goes into, again, following her. She never heard Murphy bark at night. Okay. Do you know where Kohbergers start?
I'm looking.
They're more the tips. Or no, they're interviews too.
Yeah, they'd probably be a little bit more later in dates. That's what I was kind of scrolling through too. Seems like the first part's going to be a lot of the friends, family, sorority, sisters, brothers, fraternity brothers. Hold on, sorry.
No, I'm scrolling too.
Yeah, there's like some gas station. Maybe we get up to like
I kind of
Brian's
want to
arrest.
start from bottom. I'm gonna
Let's start from the bottom and go up?
I'm gonna start from the bottom, go up.
Let's do it. I'm down for that. I just want to see some different stuff.
Okay, so on May 20th, 2025, I was noticed ISP District 2 detectives would be contacting people who were identified as witnesses by defense counsel for the upcoming trial of Bryan Kohberger. Kohberger has been charged, okay. She had been to a party on Taylor Avenue with her friend and walking home to her sorority. June 4th, 2025, has not received. Okay, that's just, okay. That's a witness follow-up. These are all witness follow-up. Multiple witnesses for defense. 2 weeks prior to the homicides occurred, he saw a lone white male with black hair driving north on Conestoga past his residence and stated the male was driving a white-colored sedan. He stated his memory came back to him after Kohberger had been arrested, and the news media released a video of the traffic stop that occurred with Kohberger and his father. So he had received the subpoena. Interesting. Defense was they were desperate. Witnesses for defense, details of conversation. So former fraternity brothers at law enforcement. Okay, he had not. All right. Then let me just go to, we'll do these whenever witness follow-up, because those are interesting, but okay. So this is a phone interview on around December 2nd, phone interview with a tip. No one answered the first phone call attempt. The second call, the person on the other line identified herself as redacted, asked if we could talk another time. Third phone call, I was able to visit, explained an odd conversation she had with a rideshare driver. She explained the driver talked about how one of the victims was stabbed 25 to 28 times. The driver also had the same tow truck as the tow truck used at the crime scene. The driver worked at Redacted, also brought up another random information. So on around December 3rd, ISP Detective Knudsen and I interviewed this person. She explained how her boyfriend relayed a story he had heard from Redacted and explained that he had a knife flashed at him at a party. She had also explained this incident happened approximately 1 to 2 years prior. Okay.
What? Okay.
Okay. Are these are these?
Well, there's a
tips.
Yeah, but there's one. If we go to page. There's the babysitter one. I guess she was a babysitter. She was interviewed on, what page is this?
Yeah, I have the
That
babysitter.
one, yeah. Yeah. I was trying to look at the reported dates.
Yeah, I'm more interested right now. Oh, I just lost my whole thing. More interested roles of grand jury. Okay, so September 7th, 2023, received the initial email alleging violations of the Idaho grand jury rules. I emailed the sender, requested more information. I advised her I was assigned to the investigation and wanted further clarification regarding the screenshots she had attached to the email. I received a follow-up email on the same day. She stated the screenshots originated from redacted, 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 and redacted. She provided email addresses for both. I emailed both individuals on September 12th, 2023, requesting contact to discuss the conversations captured in the screenshots. I'm curious if those are Steve Goncalves and Brett Norton's, remember? October 12th, 2023, Detective Brett Payne of the MPD and I emailed Shannon Gray, requesting a meeting. Mr. Gray is the attorney representing the family of Kaylee. We requested to speak regarding the screenshots showing conversations that appear to reference redacted Kaylee Goncalves speaking to individuals about the grand jury proceedings. That is definitely Steve. We did
That's
not
the
receive
text messages.
any reply or contact back from Mr. Gray. So October 12th, 2023, I was forwarded an email showing screenshots from a Facebook page that is titled the Goncalves Family Page. The screenshots show some of the same screenshots, that were forwarded to the court by Redacted. Part of the posting stated, quote, "We recently were made aware of some of the messages claiming to have fabricated text from Redacted, as well as trying to incite others to spread lies. While we understand the internet is a big place and people are free to say whatever they would like, we personally feel a line was crossed and we would like to pursue further action. If anyone knows any more about these screenshots, knows who created them, what they said, etc., I would feel comfortable sharing with us. We would extremely be appreciative." This was the last information that was received about the allegations of violation of the grand jury Idaho rules. Those were the leaked messages that we had covered.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we heard there was the grand jury leak, not just from Steve, not just from Howard Blue, but the first local author, Appleman,
Yep.
I think he said he had met somebody who was on the grand jury or got connected somehow. That's interesting.
It's super interesting. I'm just trying to scroll kind of like and find.
Yeah, no, I'm doing the same thing. Oh, how about this one? Do we want to do page, 532?
That's what I'm on.
Yeah, let's do that one. Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So the top, it says November 21st, 2022, Idaho State Police. Sergeant Darren Gilbertson conducted time runs through the residence at 1122 King Road. Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan were murdered during these early morning hours. So I was assigned and worked as lead investigator for the ISP and assisting the Moscow PD with the multiple homicides. Based upon the processing of the crime scene and evidence collected, investigators believed Kohberger drove to the area and parked at the back of the residence. There is a paved parking area directly to the south that overlooks the back of the residence. Kohberger most likely entered the residence through a sliding glass door located on the second level and rear of the residence and then proceeded as follows. After entering through the sliding glass door, Kohberger walked through the kitchen area and to a set of stairs that led up to the third floor. Kohberger then went up to the stairs to the third floor. The top of the stairs and directly to the left side is a door which was Kaylee's bedroom, and to the right is a short hallway that ended in a bathroom and another door to Maddie's bedroom. Most likely Bryan checked Kaylee's bedroom, saw it was empty, and then moved into...
Sorry.
You're fine. And then moved into Maddie's bedroom, where we believe both Kaylee and Maddie were asleep in Maddie's bed. Bryan murdered both of them in the bed. Bryan most likely went back down the stairs, walked through the second floor living room, and then down the hallway, which ended at Xana's bedroom. Based on the evidence, Xana was initially attacked just inside the bedroom near the entrance.
Really?
Xana fought the suspect in the bedroom area and was ultimately killed on the floor of the bedroom next to the bed. Ethan, who we believe was asleep, was murdered in the bed. Kohberger left the bedroom area, walked back down the hallway, passed through the living room, kitchen, and exited the sliding glass door, leaving the door partly open. Kohberger then walked back to his vehicle and drove away from the area. ISP Detective Jeff Talbot and MPD Corporal Brett Payne assisted with the time runs. Corporal Payne tracked the times for each run, and Detective Talbot walked through the residence with me calling out the number of strikes to simulate the number of wounds to each victim based on autopsy reports. I conducted 2 time runs, the first being as quick as possible run, and second, a slower, deliberate, timed run. During the first trial run, I began at the rear of the residence and came through the sliding glass door. I then quickly moved through the kitchen and up the stairs. I looked into the bedroom to the left and then moved down the hallway into Maddie's room. I simulated the number of strikes that were inflicted upon Maddie and Kaylee, and Detective Talbot counted and kept track in an attempt to recreate the movements and motions believed to have occurred based on the evidence collected in autopsy reports. I moved out of the bedroom, down the stairs, through the living room, down the hallway, and into Xana's bedroom. Again, with the assistance of Detective Talbot, I simulated the number of strikes that were inflicted upon Xana and Ethan. I then exited back down the hallway, through the living room, through the kitchen, and out the sliding glass door. Corporal Payne reported a time of approximately 1 minute and 30 seconds on the quick as possible timed run.
Yeah, that's like no room to play.
Wow, that's a lot. So, people said it can't happen. On the second run, slower and deliberate, I followed the same path throughout the residence, but at a much slower, methodical pace. I again entered through the rear sliding glass door, opening it slowly to make no noise. While doing so, I then walked as quietly as I could through the kitchen, up the stairs, attempting to make no noises. I looked into the first bedroom and then slowly moved down the hallway to Maddie's room. Talbot counted and tracked again as I recreated the movements and motions believed to have occurred inside the bedroom. I exited the bedroom. I moved back down the stairs, through the living room, down the hallway, and into Xana's room. The movement to Xana's bedroom was slower than the first run, but still somewhat quick. I again simulated the movements and motions that took place inside Xana's bedroom. I then exited back down the hallway, through the living room, through the kitchen, and out the sliding glass door. Corporal Payne reported a time of approximately 2 minutes and 33 seconds.
Yeah, that's
We
again
just
leaving no room for, that's just deliberate,
Yeah, and you got to think of defensive too. So,
Yeah.
they're fighting back.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't account for it. So we additionally walked through simulated paths that Bryan may have possibly taken from the vehicle to the back of the residence. The shortest and most direct path going from the parking area and moving east to west along the back of the house took approximately 30 seconds. A second path starting at the southern edge of the property and walking a fence line through some trees and moving in a south-north direction towards the back of the house took approximately 1 minute. The times to make the same 2 paths at a running pace were approximately 6 to 7 seconds for the short path and 10 to 12 seconds for the longer. The time runs revealed that it was possible for Kohberger to have carried out the murders in as few as 2 minutes and 6 seconds, going at a fast pace on the shortest route to the vehicle, or as much as 3 minutes and 45 seconds, going at a slower pace on the longer route to the vehicle. This concluded the simulated time runs through the residence.
Interesting.
That is interesting. Okay, so what I was going to say earlier with the bathroom was I was wondering, did it start in the bathroom? But it definitely started in the entrance of her bedroom.
I still think, that was so early on. I think, she ran and that's where he ultimately got her.
Mm-hmm. Next to the Hyundai Elantras.
Yeah,
Evidence. It's the evidence they got.
Yeah. buccal swabs from suspect. The interview took place. Okay. Entered the former apartment when the current tenant was not home. The intention was to retrieve a dresser he bought that she had left in the apartment when she moved out. Kaylee was drinking at John Alley's Tavern on the 13th, stayed till 2 a.m., lives with his father. Okay. Got buccal swabs. Okay. Okay, so they got the security camera footage from Redacted, a tip that had been received that Kaylee had reported to her father that someone was following her while she was shopping. So the footage was reviewed, and it was dated October 14, 2022. During the review, Kaylee was seen entering at 7:24 p.m. As she enters, she passes two males, and you can see them stare at her while she walks past them. The two males were later identified as Redacted and Redacted. Kaylee walks directly to the alcohol coolers and picks up a case of White Claw. After picking up the White Claws, Kaylee walks to the self-checkout registers. Redacted sees Kaylee walk past them and immediately starts to follow Kaylee. While she's checking out at the register, Redacted stands back, watching her from a distance. Once Kaylee finishes checking out, she leaves the store and walks towards her vehicle, which is parked in the far east parking lot along Farm Road. Redacted follows Kaylee to her car, but doesn't make contact with her. He turns and walks back inside and meets up with the guy. So Redacted and Redacted finish their shopping and check out. As they are walking to the exit, they pass the self-checkout registers and both stare at an unknown female checking out at the self-checkout. Redacted walks outside and stands next to the pillars in front of Redacted as Redacted pushes their grocery cart to his vehicle, which is Redacted. Once the unknown female exits and walks past Redacted, you can see him start to follow her. She seems to be aware he is following her and does a loop past her vehicle and then walks towards the vehicle she came in. Redacted did not appear to make contact with her and continued towards Redacted's vehicle. So they interviewed Redacted at his apartment, and this is a summary of it. He identified his friend as Redacted. He and Redacted will go grocery shopping together after school. At times, Redacted will see a girl he wants to talk to and will sometimes follow a girl outside the store and try to talk to her outside. He will do this because he is really shy and doesn't want to be rejected in front of his friends. So on December 1st, they interviewed the other guy. He had been a student at Redacted for almost 2 years, goes grocery shopping with Redacted every Redacted after school. I showed Redacted a clip from a security camera footage of him following Kaylee out to her car when she is leaving. He agreed that was him following Kaylee. He followed her out the store to try to talk to her and get her phone number. He was unaware of who she was, and according to him, he did not talk to her. The reason he followed her outside instead of contacting her inside the store is that he gets embarrassed easily, and he didn't want to be around his peers in case he got turned down. He stated that after checking out that same evening, he saw another girl he wanted to talk to that was checking out in the self-checkout line. He waited outside by the pillars in front of the entrance until she walked out. He approached her and asked if she would like to talk, and she turned him down. He was unaware of the homicides that occurred until late afternoon on the 13th. After he saw an email from the university, he denied knowing any of the students and had only seen them when a GoFundMe account was sent out to all the students. The night of the homicides, he stated he was in his room, as he rarely ever goes anywhere, except to the gym and grocery store due to his schedule with school. He agreed to provide a DNA buccal swab, and that's what they did.
Okay, I think somebody needs to tell this kid that, like, following girls is creepy. Like, have a meet cute. Do not follow. Do not follow.
Just follow them
so
out
weird.
to their car, and stand next to the pillar. That's creepy.
It is. It is. It's like, I don't buy that. Like, I don't want to get it rejected in front of my friends. No. Have a meet cute. It doesn't work. Then don't freaking follow them. That's freaking weird.
So creepy.
Oh, okay. March 2nd, 2023, at about 2:53 p.m., I spoke with Redacted at MPD in reference to Kohberger being her TA in her redacted class at WSU. I provided following information during our interview and later emailed screenshots between her and Kohberger. Kohberger was only in class every few weeks, and sometimes only for half of the class. He never seemed to talk or communicate with any of the students in class. He would sit in the back of the class near where she would sit and always seemed to be staring at her when she looked up. She said that he graded harshly and gave her a C in the class. She stated, "I don't get C's." Later, her professor, Redacted, changed it to an A, agreeing with her that he graded unfairly. So before talking with Redacted, she emailed Kohberger concerning her grade. She stated his comment was, "Sucks for you. You didn't know what you were doing." In quotes. What? Did he really say that? Sucks for you. You didn't know what you were doing. Wow.
It's weird.
I'm sure she's got receipts for that. It's kind of rude. But anyways, she felt at times Kohberger would intentionally leave the class at the same time and follow her out to her car. On March 3rd, 2023, Redacted shared screenshots of emails between her and Kohberger. I transferred the screenshots into a compact disc and turned them over to MPD as evidence. That's just rude.
Creepy.
I know. Another one is the next one up is Kohberger as well.
Okay, hold on. Who done?
Don't know.
Okay. So the next one says April 18, 2023, ISP Detective O'Hara and I interviewed Joe, let's just say Joe, regarding interactions with Kohberger. Listen to the audio recording for the full details. We would if we could. After being advised of the purpose of the interview, Joe provided me with the following information. During the first semester of 2022, Joe was enrolled in Redacted Criminal Justice course, and Kohberger was a TA for the course. He had very few interactions with Kohberger. Kohberger was present for the first or second day of the course and introduced himself, but was absent majority of the time. He only remembered 2 notable interactions with Kohberger. The first time when he was meeting with him following an absence due to an unexpected family member's death. During that meeting, Kohberger was in the room but didn't say anything, which he thought was strange. The second was a scheduled Zoom meeting between him, Redacted, and Kohberger. At the scheduled time, neither Redacted nor Kohberger were on the call, so he sent an email inquiring if they were still available to meet. A short time later, Kohberger joined the Zoom meeting from Redacted's office, which he thought was strange. He was able to quickly discern Redacted and Kohberger were not on good terms with each other, in part by the way Redacted was telling Kohberger to end the meeting. A short time after the Zoom meeting ended, he received an email from Redacted advising him he, Redacted, wasn't upset with his questions, but instead he, Redacted, had other stuff going on, which he assumed meant Kohberger. He didn't have any other personal firsthand information to provide, but he had heard from several other people of issues between Redacted and Kohberger. However, he was unable to provide any names for follow-up. His impression of Kohberger was that Kohberger was, quote, standoffish, a bit odd, and just weird.
Melissa.
Yeah.
The tension. Oh my God. No wonder it was getting leaked out that he was having issues. Like everybody knew it. Even the one who's only seen him twice.
Even the one who's only seen him twice. And he didn't like literally appear for either of the 2 interactions.
And I was wondering that, like you said, the other one we read about him, she said she'd only seen him like every few weeks. And okay, so for me, like, because I don't have experience of TAs in criminal justice, but like my TAs in the science area when I went to school, like our TAs were in every like lab. So specifically, like we took our labs with the TAs. So I'd see them every single week, and they were kind of more my teacher, and they worked underneath the professor. So I wonder if is it ordinary that the TAs aren't as involved? Because I would think they would
usually
be.
the TAs like a lot of times take the predominant role.
Right, because like they're really like that front person for the professor, right? That's so weird.
It is.
I've only seen him twice, and based on the Zoom call.
Listen, I've only interacted with this guy twice, and he's weird, standoffish, don't like it. Nope.
Redacted's trying to end the meeting.
Yeah, that's bad.
Oh my God. Okay, so next up, lead number 5839 on December 2nd, I, Detective Spencer Knudsen with the ISP investigation, along with Detective Tyler Barrett, conducted a phone interview with Redacted, stating that he is a next door neighbor of the victims. And that he stated he was in a slight altercation with a kid named Redacted at the Corner Club bar earlier in the spring. Redacted provided us with the name of Redacted, who was his roommate. This incident can be closed. And another lead, they said that they were looking into, that somebody stated that during the last semester they had an altercation with them at the Corner Club. and that he was going to knock him out, and that they were really drunk that night and had no further contact with them. That incident's been closed. And then another lead was conducted on a phone interview. It stated that she talked to a Detective Lake on a Tuesday after the incident happened, stated she called in a tip on Redacted, who she went to college with, and stated that they're violent against women, and stated during a Halloween party in 2020 had her friend's hair pulled. What?
Oh.
I Redacted, and stated that she has heard Redacted talking bad about women, and stated that she has seen them fighting with other males, and that in August of 22 there was a group chat going on, and Redacted stated that Maddie and him Redacted stated that Redacted got mad during the chat and called Maddie a bitch. This incident can be closed. What the fuck?
Huh.
That's weird. Very weird. The next one is about somebody studying abroad in Spain. So this is maybe somebody who was a lead.
Someone said that they should be looked at as a possible suspect due to prior online activity. Okay, hold on. Kohberger was identified as a suspected perpetrator and arrested. The following tips were evaluated. So, multiple reporting parties believed Redacted should be looked at as possible suspect due to prior online activity. February 28th, 2023, I contacted Redacted by phone. He advised me he was studying abroad in Spain, but was willing to meet with an FBI agent in Spain. Several days later, I was contacted by Redacted's mother, who advised me she had spoken with her son and he would be declining to meet for an interview until returned home in June, so he could have his attorney present. Multiple unsuccessful attempts were made to contact them. During that time, Kohberger was identified as the primary suspect and arrested. So per tip information, RP believed two brothers from the Redacted family who were allegedly redacted at the U of I should be looked at as possible suspects due to two alleged conversations heard at a California campsite after the homicides.
What?
February 6, 2023, I contacted Redacted regarding the tip information. Redacted advised a Redacted family had been at the resort at the reported time. Redacted advised she'd provide the Redacted family my contact info and pass on my request for contact. February 28th, contacted staff of U of I and inquired about the validity and existence of their being enrolled as student brothers from the Redacted family. At the time of this report, I have not received any information from the U of I.
It sounds like a Kimball lead. There's like millions of them.
What's that? Okay.
It's just evidence.
That's from his car. Clothing from the laundry room, swabs of various stains from throughout the residence, wall sections and flooring from Kernodle and Mogen's rooms containing various stains. Photograph them. Okay.
The other one is just somebody that knew them. Wasn't really much to it. Dallas, Texas. It's my neck of the woods. That's where that one. Okay. Okay, so that's just about knife. So this report, guys, is about knife wounds. So they followed up with all these different local providers to see.
Read that last number 6.
I found it odd that Kootenai Health provided a list of 77 patients treated for sharp object laceration and puncture wounds, while other providers advised treating no wounds consistent with what we were looking for.
Okay, you want to read this one? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. December 3rd, FBI Special Agent, we'll just call him Zawowski. I don't know. And I, Detective Sergeant Michael Van Lavoon, with the ISP interviewed Redacted, date of birth 2001, at the ISP District 1 office in Coeur d'Alene. Redacted was known to us as homicide victim Maddie Mogen's ex-boyfriend. As an ex-boyfriend of one of the victims, Redacted was considered a person of interest in the investigation, and I called them and asked him to come into the office for an interview. They agreed and came directly. This call was audio recorded, and during the course of our interview, Redacted was completely cooperative and friendly throughout, and the interview was audio recorded. Again, they're just stating the same stuff. So um, Maddie's ex agreed to provide a DNA sample, which I took using buccal swabs, and also consented to having his phone downloaded for us to review its contents. This was done during the course of interview, and telephone number provided, Redacted, signed a consent form for his phone to be searched. I later transferred the buccal swabs as well as the phone download to MPD. I examined their arms and hands and did not observe any marks or cuts. I took photographs of his arms and hands and placed those on the disc containing the audio recordings. Redacted said at the time the homicides occurred, he was sleeping at his residence located at Redacted in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. He said he had a roommate, gave that phone number and said that he did not remember whether his roommate was at the apartment that night, and that they had worked on November 12th in Coeur d'Alene. He went to lunch with his family and roommate in Coeur d'Alene the next day, and he was the first person to tell him about the homicides. He was unclear what had happened at first because some people were saying they had overdosed and others were saying they had been stabbed. He texted with his friend who had known Redacted and Kaylee asking about what happened, and they said that it had happened and it was all real and it felt surreal, and he would have no idea, no clue who would have committed these homicides. They gave a biographical information, a victimology information, referred to the audio recording for more information, nothing further. Lots of interviews.
Yeah, I'm curious with the Kohberger ones.
Yeah. Looks like they're all kind of mixed in here.
Victimology interviews, yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely in here. There's definitely some in the Washington one, the Washington file that I have on the drive, because it's all like Pullman Police and WSU. There's quite a bit in there too, if you want to look at those.
I'll stay on this for tonight because I'm already on it, but then I definitely do. Okay, so this says November 22nd. Best advised he had received information from Redacted, related that he had received a phone call from Redacted, and Redacted sounded drunk, and he lived in Moscow. This address is approximately 350 feet from the house where the homicides occurred. He advised that his uncle used to work for the ATF and that he had his uncle's ATF hat and jacket. He said he put on this hat and jacket and walked into the crime scene when the bodies were being removed.
What?
He said that he had walked into the crime scene and observed blood evidence. He had said he spoke to a Moscow police officer named Redacted. Redacted was not a Moscow PD officer. He was a recruit, but didn't make it off FTO. Redacted said Redacted wanted to search his house, but said he would not give him consent and said Redacted would have to talk to his landlord. Redacted said he described the crime scene as shooting a deer inside of an apartment building. Redacted further told Redacted that he was outside of his house getting ready for a hunting trip when he heard a car starting up at approximately 3:45 on the morning of the homicides and saw a car come from the area of the homicide and drove past his house. He had no vehicle description other than it was a car. Redacted that all of the victims were double tapped in the house. He made no mention of anyone being stabbed. Redacted described a blood trail in the house that led towards the bathroom, but that he didn't make it. Redacted said he went hunting that day near Deary with a man named Redacted. Redacted said there were no reporters near his house setting up to shoot video and that one of the reporters had backed into his vehicle. Interview was audio recorded, placed on disc, and transferred. What?
What day was this? November 3rd.
November 22nd. So what's interesting to me is that I always keep it in my mind that Anne her alternative perpetrator theory came from a tip that they had gone through, like an old tip. So I always in my mind when I'm thinking about the tips, like which one did she use?
Mm. Yeah,
That's
same.
weird.
That is real. Why it seems like a lie though. I don't know if I believe it.
I don't know. I believe it, but that's crazy for a week later to be making a claim like that.
Yeah.
What's double tap?
I was assuming that like maybe like two kill wounds.
Like 2 shots? I don't know the lingo.
Yeah, but it's not. I don't
Not
understand.
accurate. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So this one is on March 2nd, 2023. ISP Detective Hugh Powell and
Yes. Sorry. Yes, Harlot. Double tapped, it said.
that's what it said. Specifically, it's really gross. He says that the victims were double tapped in the house, but he made no mention of anyone being stabbed. So double tapped would be shot. Like I thought it'd be like 2 shots. You know what I mean? Like a kill
Yeah.
shot, like choo. And then described a blood trail in the house that led to his bathroom. Okay, that's weird. I don't know. Okay, let's get back to this one. So this one is going to be probably about Bryan. So March 2nd, 2023. So Detective Hugh Powell and I conducted an interview with Redacted at Pullman, Washington. Redacted is a blank at WSU, and Bryan Kohberger was her redacted during the fall 2022 semester. The following is a summary of the interview. Reference the audio interview recording the full details, providing the following information. She attended a criminal justice class during the fall of 2022. Kohberger was redacted for that course. She liked the course and met Kohberger that first week. She met with Kohberger once in his office to go over her work on a brief. He gave her suggestions, and she didn't like the feedback he was giving. Kohberger came off as smart, but quiet and off, in quotes. He seemed kind of smart, not weird, just off. She believes he only showed up to class twice. Again,
Wow.
Melissa. So he didn't really do much. He was kind of a useless TA. I wonder if he even knew what it meant to be a TA. Or if he thought he was too good. I'm just
I
curious.
think he thought he was too good, honestly. And I think he was exploring so much more while he was there.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Especially like when you hear that if it's true, like he only had like 18 contacts on his phone, like you would think that maybe he would want to be in the school setting, like a social setting.
No, I don't think, because I don't think anyone would want to discuss what was on his mind. You know, I think he kept it in the shadows.
Thank you, Seven Lilies.
Thank you.
He was really interested. What?
No, I said thanks, MK.
He always pulls through. He was really interested in the psychology behind the crimes, and approximately 20 students attended the class. She had few interactions with him and only a few email exchanges through school. She sent me photographs of her online conversations with him, which I entered into Tiburon e-files. That was it. This is the tips. Okay.
About a homeless man.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Do you?
No, I'm looking for kind of like, I want to find the little things about Kohberger we hadn't seen. Okay, so this is the driver.
Yeah.
As Redacted was one of the last, what's his name again?
Eric Gower.
As Eric was one of the last people to see the victims prior to the homicides, he was a person of interest in the investigation. Eric cooperated fully and completed with our inquiries. Eric provided his telephone and consented to a search of the phone, as well as providing us with the password for the phone. The phone was downloaded during the interview and returned back to him before he left. The consent form for the phone was signed. Okay. So Eric also consented, giving us a sample of his DNA. I took the sample using buccal swabs. I transferred them. He removed his shirt and allowed us to look for any injuries he might have on his arms or torso. No injuries were observed. Interview was recorded. So Eric advised me he was the driver for both redacted as well as redacted. He drove a redacted bearing Idaho license plate redacted. He said he's one of the only drivers in the area that serves Moscow. We covered some biographical history. So on Friday, November 11th, he had worked until 3 a.m. He started driving again between 10:30 and 11 on the 12th. Beginning at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, he had steady work until 3 or 4 in the morning. And Eric advised that his wife was not a fan of him staying out late driving, but that weekend she was out of town with her parents in Hayden, Idaho. Eric advised that he had given Kaylee 10 to 15 rides since the last school year. Eric said he had also given Maddie rides, but didn't know about Ethan and Xana. Eric said that around 10 p.m., Kaylee had texted asking for a ride to the corner club. Eric thought that there were 3 girls on that ride. Eric advised he drove them directly from the house where Kaylee lived to the club. He advised he had driven this route several times before. Eric said he doesn't remember what the conversation in the car was on about the way to the club. He said he has not heard or overheard any problems from the group of people that Kaylee is usually with. He said that he tries his best not to be a creep. He said he got another text from Kaylee at 1:45 a.m. asking to be picked up at the grub truck. He said when he picked Kaylee and Maddie up, Kaylee sat in the front and Maddie sat in the back. He said he drove the 2 girls directly from the grub truck to their house. He said that Kaylee was a little bit more drunk than Maddie. He said that when he got to the house, that the lights were on and that there were 4 cars parked in the driveway. He said he noticed a black SUV on the left side sticking out. He also said there was a silver car on the road. He did not notice anyone walking on the road. He watched the girls go into the house, and he said on this occasion, they didn't pay him for the ride. He said that was not unusual and that he expected that they would pay him later. He said he never gave ride fees for free. He never gave rides for free and that there was always the understanding that they would pay. He said he has never been into the house or anyone's house as a driver. He advised that the girl's state of inebriation was pretty standard. He said that this ride was off the books, meaning it was not managed through like Uber. The girls had his number and contacted him directly, and he said that only 5 to 10% of the rides he gave are off the books. He said he did not go back to the girls' residence that night. When asked to provide an alibi, he stated that he was home at the time of the homicides. He said he could not support him being home at the time of the homicides by providing security camera footage from around his house, showing his vehicles parked there and what time he got home. I asked him to provide a copy, and he did. He said he first became aware of the homicide through the vandal alert text. He said he was shocked that this kind of thing never happens in Moscow. When asked if he had any idea who would have committed the crimes, he described an event that occurred approximately 1 month ago at the public restrooms downtown near Friendship Square. He said he stopped to use the bathroom at 1:30 to 2:30 a.m. and there was a thin-build white male in his 30s with tattoos, approximately 5 foot 10 inches tall, in the bathroom wearing a white tank and sharpening a fillet knife at the sink.
Mm. That's creepy.
Mm.
A fillet knife.
Mm.
Ooh,
This is a
what
big
is
one.
that is a big one. Is that the one we did last time or no?
Oh, you know what? I don't know. No.
Mm-mm. Okay. Knew me down.
Yeah, this is December 30th, 2022.
Okay. On December 3rd, 2022, ISP Detective Sergeant Just Stennett and I, Detective Sergeant Michael Van Lavoon, interviewed PhD student redacted, date of birth 1997 at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington. She advised she was a redacted and had completed her undergraduate degree also from redacted. Her advisor was redacted. Her mentor was redacted. Knew She knew Bryan Kohberger, date of birth 1994, as a fellow PhD student. She first met him at the orientation. She had been in his office a few times, and she also met him at a barbecue that the department had in August at Redacted's house. She said Kohberger had tried to have personal conversations with her on a few occasions, asking questions like where she lives, what kind of dog she owns. She said Kohberger would make aggrandizing comments. Kohberger liked to talk about sexual burglary because that was his field of study. Kohberger was interested in the emotions of what it felt like when committing a crime, and said that in October, Kohberger was having issues with other students in their PhD cohort, and that he was talking to her more in her office. She described having to, quote, clean up a mess he and his fellow teacher's assistant had created working for Redacted. And she described conversations she had with him, or Bryan, related to their studies of violent offenders. This included areas of study like sexual burglary, sexual assault, and forensic awareness. He talked about different emotions violent offenders might have, and he discussed how offenders might avoid getting caught. Um, BK had asked if she was single. She discussed her relationship with her partner, and he asked about friends of hers, and if she was interested in getting together outside of school. Yeah. She said she was not interested, and that she told him she had been redacted, and he stated that he did not date broken women.
Oh, interesting.
Sir, Bryan, really? Broken women, Melissa?
Broken women.
But this kind of goes with, like, I could see that.
Yep.
Sorry. He had discussed how he had attended Redacted and described it as DeSales, as a small rural college in Pennsylvania, and he advised that he had been taught by police officers, wow. Referring to the Moscow homicides, Bryan had stated that whoever had committed the homicides must have been pretty good. And this conversation occurred approximately 3 weeks after the homicides occurred. They discussed the idea.
Sorry.
Oh, I know. They discussed the idea that students were getting ready to leave for winter break right after when the homicides occurred, and that this timing made it a good choice by the murder.
Oh, wow. Of course he had to. Narcissistic fuck.
Jeez. Redacted did not know what kind of car Kohberger drove, or even if he had a car. Kohberger never mentioned friends or family to her. He discussed liking to hang out in the forest. And she found this odd. Yes, she found this odd because the lack of forest in the area.
Where the fuck is a forest? Unless he's out in the wooded area with Murphy getting familiar.
Yeah, she said that Kohberger never discussed knives with her, though. And regarding complaints of Kohberger's behavior, Redacted said she made a few complaints to Redacted, and that she had been directed to copy her complaints to the Redacted, and she was reluctant to do this because she had not had good experience with the Redacted in the past, and said that Kohberger was insulted that the department had brought on 2 women to fix his grading work as a TA for Redacted. Okay, so now we're getting more to it. I never heard that before.
Yeah.
So they brought on 2 women to fix his grading work. Wow. So she discussed finding Kohberger's Reddit. Whoa! She said discussing his research at Redacted, and also said she found his SoundCloud, and the Reddit included his. So, guys, this is an interview on December 30th, so this is early on.
Yeah.
So she was looking him up probably before his arrest.
Yeah.
So she assumed he was coming back for the spring semester because he had asked about a theory class that they would take in the spring, and that she didn't observe anything specifically about Bryan that pointed to the homicides besides his focus on policing and comments about women having a harder time getting a job as a professor, especially when he hit the job market. So they said Kohberger had conflict with Redacted, questioning her. Okay, this is that professor. The one that he was reading her paper, right?
Yeah.
Remember her immigration status and insinuating he was superior to her in research abilities, and said that Kohberger was always late when there were female instructors, and said that female students redacted had a whiteboard in the office where they kept track of the number of times when Kohberger was late to class when female instructors were presenting, or when he would cut off a female when she was speaking. Redacted said Kohberger was a vegan, strong Catholic, and he did not drink. And she did not recall Kohberger having disparaging comments about members of the Greek system. They said that Kohberger enjoyed conflict and was disparaging towards women. Described an outburst Kohberger had regarding a grade he had received from Redacted. She said that in approximately 40 times she had been around Kohberger, she had never observed him exhibit empathy towards others.
Mhm.
She said Kohberger did not like the fact that she discounted the offender in studying sexual assault cases. He said she was being dismissive of the offender, and he thought she should be focusing on the offender and what they left behind. He thought the offender had a strong impact on the crime rather than the victim. Wow, this is really interesting.
Super
So
interesting.
she said she thought he was dismissing what she was doing just to argue. She said he was dismissive towards women and not men, and it did not cross her mind that Kohberger may have been responsible for the Moscow murders, and that he'd always seemed reclusive. And she said he didn't get the hint that she wanted him to leave when he was in her office. So she wanted him to leave her. Oh wow, okay. She said she had to leave her office in order for him to leave, and that she thought Kohberger used the redacted, and further said the redacted had private lockers available to students that could be assigned to individually. I later contacted the redacted to inquire if Kohberger had a locker there, and they said he did not. And she said that she had never met anyone who acted in such a condescending manner and wondered why people in power in the department did not address his behavior. The way he spoke to females in the department was unsettling to them.
Wow.
So this is probably why WSU also, I know that they have rules and regulations with education, but I think this is also why they wanted them to be hush hush, because it sounds like they weren't handling an issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in reference to the Moscow homicides, he would say that it was horrible. So Bryan would say that it was horrible. And discussing whether the murderer would be caught, Bryan said maybe it was a one and done type of thing. And she said Kohberger sometimes discussed the evidence left behind at crimes and how an offender might mitigate against that by wearing gloves. And these statements were related to her research work and not specific to the Moscow homicide. She said he did not discuss vehicles, surveillance, or weapons that could be used, but did talk about the time of day that offenders might choose. She talked about how there were conversations about how Kohberger might be an incel and celibate in relation to his Reddit page and his confrontation with Redacted, and said Kohberger had a bad interaction regarding a front office undergrad staffer named Redacted, and that they mentioned problems they were having with Kohberger, and that they said students were told not leave Redacted alone with Kohberger, so not to leave that person alone with Kohberger. Okay, so Redacted said undergraduate students. Okay, Kohberger was a TA for a 101 class. 3 female students from that class told Redacted that Kohberger was an awkward guy who would hang around and try to contribute to conversations that he was not a part of. And then they recalled one of these students was named Redacted. And they said no one wanted to talk to Kohberger or hang around him, based on how he talks to women, treats women, and people in the department thought he was a possible future rapist.
Oh my God.
Redacted said she would not have pegged Kohberger for committing the Moscow homicides, and the interview was recorded, and that was it.
Fascinating.
Wow.
Fascinating.
So that's December 30th, 2022. So before all this other stuff, this girl was like researching
That was
this
the
shit.
day he was arrested. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it does, MK. It's wild.
Oh my God.
Mm.
All right, I'm gonna do one more. This is Jack. Do you want to should we read Jack's or should we skip over to a different one for now? This is
I think we skip over Jack's. There's another Kohberger one we can do. Why don't we?
Kohberger.
It's a little longer, but I can help you. It's on page 470, 471.
Yeah, I see. Okay, so this one is also December 30th. And it said the first time she met with Kohberger was with another PhD student named Redacted. She and Redacted are friends who both came to Redacted where they acquired their master's degree. This meeting occurred at the graduate student orientation. Kohberger came up to them and said Redacted said she instantly had a bad feeling about him. Redacted told Redacted how she felt, and Redacted said to give him a chance. Redacted said she had confronted Kohberger early on about the way he was speaking to women. Redacted said she noticed early on that Kohberger did not like people that were not of his demographic. Is this the same one? Yeah.
No,
I thought this was the one.
No, this is different. This talks about Ted Bundy. 7 Lily, you're correct. She said she thought he'd be a rapist, but not the Moscow homicides murderer. Maybe this is a friend of that person that we were just reading.
I'm pretty sure this is the one we read. Right.
It's not this.
So it says she explained that there are diverse class of different types of people in their class, and one day Kohberger was being rude to a deaf student, and she called him out on how he spoke to her. She described how Kohberger's mannerisms also contributed to his rudeness. She further described that Kohberger would stare at people in an intimidating way. She said she would avoid what?
We did read this one on the last live. This wasn't the same one I just read, but we read this one on the last live.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I was looking at the birthday.
This one. This one is on.
Oh, it's a big one.
January 3rd, 2023. And it says they interviewed Redacted. The first occasion was on December 30th. Oh, this might be the same. There was a telephone call, and the third time was on January 11, 2023. The purpose of these interviews were to discuss interactions and impressions of his former, probably TA, Bryan Kohberger. So December 30th, I interviewed Redacted at the MPD. I was joined in this interview with ISP. Okay, blah, blah. So he began working for Redacted in the late 1990s, working in the Redacted as a Redacted while continuing his work as a Redacted. In 2015, he began Redacted full-time, splitting his time between governmental studies and services and blah, blah. So in 2018 and 2019, he came to Redacted full-time in the Redacted. So
this
Redacted
is the chief.
knew.
This is the chief.
Oh.
This is the so wait, I interviewed Blake. Okay. Yeah, because I'm thinking this is the former chief of Pullman, right? Or no?
No, I think this is the student.
No, this is date of birth is 1960. This isn't the student.
No, the teacher. I'm saying like as Bryan as the TA. Yeah, no, I don't think this is the chief.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought it was whenever remember he had moved over from Pullman. I was thinking maybe it was that, but I'm sorry, I was wrong.
No, you're fine. It's a guessing game with all these redactions. So
you think this is one of the professors then?
Yeah, that Kohberger was gonna be a TA for, in my opinion.
Oh, okay, good, Melissa. Good call. Okay.
So Redacted knew that Kohberger was going to be one of his TAs, that's what I'm assuming, in June or July of 2022. He didn't meet Kohberger in person until August. Kohberger was an incoming PhD student in the department. He knew Kohberger was from a small private school back east, and he said Kohberger seemed sharp and personable enough when he first met him. He had not read Kohberger's master's dissertation, and he had no part in Kohberger's acceptance of the PhD program, or that he was going to be assigned Kohberger as a teacher's assistant, I'm assuming. So I asked him about a couple of incidents of unprofessional behavior associated with Kohberger that had read in a letter from the faculty advising Kohberger that he had lost his TA position. And he said the first incident that occurred with Mr. Kohberger was a time when Redacted was in his office and was wanting to leave to go home. This was on a Friday. Mr. Kohberger showed up at the end of the day and wanted to talk. He said it was pretty clear that he wanted to leave and that Kohberger wanted to talk. He said this was not the first time this has happened with Kohberger, where he would show up late in the day and want to talk. He said his behavior had bothered him for a while. He said he would typically have his 40 hours in by the end of Thursday and did not want to work late on Fridays and resented it when Kohberger would show up to talk on Fridays. I asked him what Kohberger would want to talk about. He said nothing in particular and that there was nothing remarkable about any of these conversations. He said some of the subjects that were discussed in the past involved how to brief a case, how to deal with plagiarism, or also just general recreation activities on the Palouse. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Palouse?
Palouse, yeah.
Palouse. After 10 to 20 minutes, there was an exchange that perturbed, where Kohberger wouldn't get to the point and let Redacted go home. At one point, Kohberger told Redacted that he was snarky. Redacted became tired and frustrated and told Kohberger to leave his office, and he did not. Redacted got up and walked out of his own office. He said Kohberger followed him out of his office and continued talking to him. Redacted said he walked down the hall to the main office where he knew Kohberger had some run-ins with others. After several late afternoon and evening encounters, he wasn't sure if Kohberger was trying to curry favor or whether he was trying to control that person's time. At some point, he concluded Kohberger was power tripping, and by using him and his time and preventing him from leaving his office was a way of controlling him. He advised that he has had over 8 redacted in the past, and he had teacher's assistants in the past, and has never had a problem with any of them. He talked about Kohberger walking and talking with him as he walked to his car. He remembered Kohberger bragging about outsmarting the parking regulations on campus. He talked about difficulty in getting Kohberger to complete his tasks as a teaching assistant. Ooh, they messed up without a redaction. He had said he had been advised by department higher-ups to be more direct in making his expectations clear to Kohberger. He advised Kohberger's behavior didn't really change from the time before the homicides or after. He said he never received any direct complaints about Kohberger interacting with any of the undergraduate students in his capacity as a teaching assistant. He further advised the female grad students didn't like Kohberger because he was that off-putting. He said we should talk to a female front officer staffer who was an undergrad student working on a work-study program who had made complaints about Kohberger's behavior. He advised that he had secondhand information that he had made several of the female PhD students very uncomfortable because of interactions they had with Kohberger. I asked him about which grad students we may want to interview that may have had a problem with Mr. Kohberger. He advised that there were 2 students from Redacted. He said they were fellow PhD students named Redacted and faculty members. So they attended a mixer at Redacted where 20 to 25 people from the department attended, and he was accompanied by his wife, and he recalled nothing unusual during that mixer. He had talked about the process by which Kohberger's behavior eventually led to his removal as a teaching assistant. He advised he initially supported Kohberger until after a second event that he could not remember the details of. He advised Kohberger's removal was a result of a cumulative effect of his behavior. After the homicides occurred, he said he did consider the possibility that Kohberger had committed the murders. He characterized this as a fleeting thought. He considered Kohberger's power tripping and controlling tendencies in addition to being socially challenged. He advised Kohberger had alienated or irritated several female PhD students, as well as at least one female professor with his behavior. He said Kohberger never discussed knives or edged weapons. We asked him about a survey Kohberger had conducted with persons who had committed crimes. He said he was unaware of this and that we should contact Redacted staffer about Kohberger's PhD activities. He talked about a conversation he had with Kohberger early on, where they discussed the idea of sexual harassment. He knew that Kohberger had alienated himself from the female grad students by this time. This included 6 or 7 women. And Kohberger came up with a line of thought where he said, what if Kohberger had heard about Redacted behaving inappropriately with women? And what would Redacted do to defend himself against a false allegation? Redacted found this line of thought to be troubling and thought Kohberger was trying to put himself in a position of power. Redacted said he did not remember any physical injuries visible on Kohberger after the homicides. This conversation was recorded. This recording later provided to be placed into evidence. So you want to read the second one?
On January 3rd, 2023, Sergeant Xana and I again spoke with Redacted via telephone and advised after thinking more about Kohberger, he considered the issue about whether Kohberger was power tripping or just socially inept. He considered that it didn't matter, but talked about having coffee with a female staffer named Redacted, had concluded that Kohberger was power tripping, and Redacted said he thought she was right on her opinion. Um, Redacted said Kohberger told him that Kohberger lived near to where Redacted would park while at work, and said he found that odd because after Kohberger was arrested and the media reported where Kohberger lived, Redacted advised that the building depicted by the media as Kohberger's residence was completely different than the one Kohberger had indicated to Redacted. Huh. So Redacted also wanted to make it known that he was willing to assist the Latah County prosecutor in this case if he could be of service. And I asked them about Kohberger's research work, and they advised we follow up with the program director who oversaw Kohberger's research. And this conversation was recorded and placed on a disc with other audio recordings from these interviews. And then on January 11th of 2023, FBI Special Agent Mark Z and I spoke with Redacted at Redacted, and they advised he had spoken with people in the Redacted about this incident, and specifically he had spoken with Redacted that they had reminded him about a test question regarding the difficulty in prosecuting rape crimes. And Redacted had asked Kohberger to look at the question he had written and to make a revision to the question. And when Redacted received the revised question back from Kohberger, he found it to be useless because the language in the question would be triggering to many students. And Redacted advised the language was dismissive of the victims. And they gave me a printout of his original question and the revised question Kohberger had produced and had given to Redacted on November 10th, 2022. Also scanned these printouts and have placed them on the same disk that contains these audio recordings and other interviews. We further discuss incidents with Kohberger that have already been covered in previous interviews, and these topics included Bryan's issues he had with females in the program, as well as discussion regarding the process of this TA position being terminated. He discussed his past experience with TAs compared with current TAs, and his opinions that Kohberger should have been kept on as a TA because blank believed that blank had an obligation to continue to honor their commitment in offering him a TA position. And Kohberger relied on that commitment. And if Redacted was going to remove that from him, that Redacted needed to make sure that they had thoroughly documented the reasons why. Redacted said that he was concerned that removing Kohberger from the TA position without doing so would open Redacted up to a civil lawsuit from Kohberger. And Redacted talked about a situation where he was meeting with Redacted and Kohberger in his office in order to prepare final exam questions for his undergraduate class. Kohberger announced he had to have a Zoom meeting with another student, and they assumed Kohberger was advising he had to leave for the meeting and could not help with the exam prep. Instead, Kohberger proceeded with the Zoom, and Redacted had to tell Kohberger to, proceeded with the Zoom meeting in Redacted's office. Yes, preventing Redacted from preparing the exam. And they had to tell Kohberger to leave his office. Wow, this is so weird. This is so weird. So Redacted advised that he had provided him with a slightly different version of the revised exam question referenced above, and that they did recall discussing the question with Redacted. And we discussed Kohberger's tendency to stare at people, and they thought that Kohberger did this in a way to display power or dominance. And they mentioned a senior named Redacted that complained that Kohberger stared at her a lot in class, and that made her feel uncomfortable. And they advised he had not observed any inappropriate behavior from Kohberger aimed at any undergraduate students. He said he thought Bryan did a good job in correcting poorly written answers, and he had not observed bias or inappropriate tone in grading. One student had made a complaint about this, but Redacted did not see it. Nothing further. Yikes. So he just takes over somebody's office and is like, I'm
He
gonna
just
do this
took
new
over
session.
someone's office and it was like, look at me, I'm the guy. Like, what the hell is that? This is what I wanted to see. This is what I wanted to understand, because we've heard a lot, but nothing with specifics. And but actually, I find it very interesting that none of them had spoken out, which tells you they all took it very seriously.
Well, they had to.
Yeah, but not everyone does, Shay.
I know. But I do think that there's beyond that, like, there's laws with the school to some degree. But Melissa, think about this. This guy's pulling up for a meeting to go over exam questions and is like, hey, I have a Zoom meeting with a student. I'm going to take over your office right
I'm
now.
gonna take
And
over your
I'm going
office.
to, your office. I'm going to have a Zoom meeting in your office.
It's so, and think about it from the student's perspective. That was the second time he saw him, and he's like getting booted off like the Zoom. How uncomfortable and how awkward. Like, see, these are I feel like we should continue going backwards up, only because it's new stuff that really hasn't, like, I haven't heard about this. This is just puts together a bigger picture, and it's really starting to paint this idea of him. Now, with that being said, there's still other questions I have, which I'm hoping we'll get more clarity with. But as far as Kohberger, yeah, it's really started. And it makes me realize everything Anne has said about him really has been accurate. It has been accurate. It's just it was being used in a way towards his advantage.
I agree with you. And I was thinking this earlier, and I didn't want to interrupt when we were reading, and maybe it's a better time, but now thinking that he had an all-female legal team, what do you think he was like behind the scenes with them? Like, do you think he was difficult? Because
It's a great question, Shay.
I'm really, and I know that they're not going to talk. It's been said that they're not going to speak or do interviews, but I would really be curious of what kind of interaction they had.
I'd be curious too, because I understand people with the incel theory, like this more and more hatred towards females is starting to surface. I never aligned with the incel theory, but I will say, like, it's really starting to appear like, oh no, he had a major issue with females. And do you think he resented them because he couldn't communicate with them? I think it was just a perfect storm. Severely fascinated with the psychology behind these crimes. Very intrigued all the way back to his mom having the same interests, and then circling it around with, social issues, not being able to interact, not being able to communicate, and then mixing them all together. And, unfortunately, it's created a perfect storm. New office, new dis, MK. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's so interesting. It's so interesting.
It is. And yes, Tess, I agree. It bothers me, but part of me wonders did the reality kind of set in when they started getting some of these CVs from expert witnesses? Like, for example, the digital forensics, we've heard so much around that, like where people were looking for a connection. And maybe in the court, like we're hearing Anne and them talking about that, but behind the scenes, Anne and her team are finding out that he has forensic deleting software, that's constantly running. Like, I think that maybe their perception of him could have been changing as that evidence was coming in. I don't know.
I don't think so. No.
You don't think so?
No. I think she knew she had all of this. I think it was just a matter of trying to argue and getting things thrown out. And I don't think at all her perception of him changed. I think she was doing her job from day one, and she knew what it was about. Now, whether or not he struggled to, like, I'm curious, like, it doesn't seem and appear from the little that we know that he disrespected them in any way, shape, or form. But I think that he knew the situation he was in, and he knew what he had to do, and that wouldn't fly. But no, I don't think as Discovery came in and they went through it that their mind changed at all. No,
but I'm sitting here thinking about that student that's on the other end of that Zoom call.
How awkward. Like, imagine like me and you coming on after like me calling a student, like you yelling at me, like, gotta get off. Like, how weird.
Like, is this really happening?
Yeah, that's so, and that was your one of two interactions with him.
That's like when your mom comes in, it's like you're busted. You're like, oh shit, gotta get off.
Like, that's like you leaning on a car, Ferrari, and pretending it's yours, and then the owner coming up with their keys, like, excuse me, get off my car, like, oh shit, like, it's a weird dominance control type thing, and I didn't really go too far into that route.
But it's really starting to appear that that he has he thought he was smarter. He really did. He thought he was smarter than everyone. But to know he was talking about the crimes, which we speculated, given he was a TA in this field, so we always speculated that they discussed the crimes. And to know he was, it's just so eerie. This person had to be really smart. They had to do really good. Oh, he was talking about himself.
And I know we've seen at least 3 different reports, and I checked, they all had different birth date years, and they've all referenced him being interested in sexual burglary, and that's really creepy.
Very interesting. I'm curious what other reports we're going to go through that show that. Because one thing that's for certain is all of these interactions have a parallel theme with one another, and it's consistent.
And remember, Anne was so worried about some of his WSU whatever co-ed students coming in to testify. Maybe it wasn't even thinking about his personality as much as it's about the things he was interested in, because it's weird.
It's so weird, but oh man, now I'm just thinking about him cleaning that crock, and he's where he needs to be. He's where he deserves to be. But I feel like minds like him need to be studied. I'd like to understand better, but then you have minds like him studying minds like him, and being fascinated by it himself.
I know. I still can't get over that too, because I was thinking about that, and you pointed it out so well. Most people take their rag and move it around the shoe, and he holds the rag in place and moves the shoe around the rag.
So peculiar of a way to clean it, I know
it's
my
weird.
hand, all around it. He kept his hand stationary and moved the shoe around the rag. It was so bizarre to me. But even the way he just stands so and I'm not one, because I'm always trying to correct myself with my slumping, my body posture. But he just upright body, even cleaning the shoe, just upright body posture, very stoic. It's creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that those are AI videos. I think they're real.
No.
I think they're definitely from IDOT.
Those aren't AI. That's just someone gonna get in trouble. Trust me, if it was AI, it would be something so much more a reason to make it. It was I 100% believe those are legit clips.
For sure.
But thank you for coming on. I'm so excited to continue going through it. I think we should just keep going backwards to the top for right now. Because I don't know, I'm interested in all the details, but we haven't had a lot of details with Bryan. So I'm very eager to kind of understand better and fill in those gaps,
Kohberger told this guy his favorite movie was American Psycho with Christian Bale. Interesting.
It's a great movie. But I think that's where his mind always was.
Yes. And thank you for having me. I'm going to jump down. I think Allie's about to go live too. So.
Oh, awesome. All right. Let's Jade raid to Allie's. Thank you, Shay. I love you. And we will
love you too.
On again, and we'll continue to go through it. So thank you, everyone, for Members Only Monday. This is Allie's link. Let's Jade raid over there, and we will see you guys soon.
All right, love you. Bye.
Bye.